10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Celebrating 35 years of Whitesnake, say hello to Mr. Bernie Marsden!
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to bonus tracks, I should call it. Bonus tracks, It's Only Talk and Roll. A special one-off live stream on a Wednesday to talk about some of my favorite music, which is Bernie Marsden and that era of Whitesnake, 78 to 82, that he took part in and founded. So we thought, well, hey, why not? Let's just have a wee chat. Sadly, Bernie, of course, passed away not that long ago, and thought it'd be nice to pay tribute to him, but also to the music of Whitesnake in that period. So what better way to pay tribute and talk about the music, you know? And to do that today, I'm very proud to welcome back to the show a great guy and a great supporter of the channel, Mr. Willie Fyffe. How are you, sir?
Guys?
It is good to see
you.
The
Ronnie sign or the peace sign.
Yeah. Of course, Willie, you did a couple of marvelous shows with us before, and your history as a road manager with Purple, Rainbow, Dio, Whitesnake is just incredible to me. I envy you deeply. I'm so pleased to have you back, mate. And
thanks, Brian.
I hope you're keeping all right. Are you doing okay? Are you well?
Yeah, fine, thanks, mate. Yeah. Now we find the kicking this COVID thing at the touch, and we're kind of people are finding some sort of normality. Gigs are now happening again, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Good, nice. So I'm glad to have you with us, mate. It's always a pleasure. And
Pleasure.
also joining today to help keep order and keep me reminding me of shit I should be doing behind the scenes here with pressing buttons. First of all, my great friend of the guy appears on many of my shows, including the Rock and Roll Rowdies, and helps me out a lot. Is Dustin from Keto Simple. How are you, mate?
I'm doing wonderful, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, mate. Yeah, you had a great show on Monday, the Motorhead show. We did a show on Motorhead, and that was a lot of fun. So, thank you for unfortunately not making that, but for your support in general with all the other shows. I really appreciate that, mate. So,
yeah, I managed them too for a while. Motorhead.
Well,
Lemmy, what a great guy.
Should have got you in that show. We'll talk a little bit about that then. Yeah. It's a bit of a bonus track for on the deluxe digital edition of Monday's show. We can include this as a bonus track.
Brilliant.
You're talking about Motorhead. Thinking in album terms.
I've found a great picture the other day. Me and the original Motorhead, all four of us.
I've got those some pictures you sent me, so I'll bring those up.
Oh, have you got those? Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So I'd also
a great guy.
Oh yeah, we had a great show Monday. It was a lot of fun. So I'd also like to welcome though fellow aficionado. I can never pronounce that word properly. Fellow fan of 70s and 80s British classic rock bands, in particular one called Jethro Tull, the greatest metal band in the world, Jethro Tull.
Yeah, heavy metal is a flute is a heavy metal instrument.
It's Mark D with the C. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, doing great. Lisa's writing me out. She's saying, "Why aren't you at work?" Well, the good thing is when you're the boss, you can schedule your lunch break for a 2-hour lunch break on a Wednesday. Yeah, yeah. So hopefully no one else is watching this. Yeah, but you have the phone. I turned the ringer off on the phone, but yeah, I had to be here for this. And yeah, I dug out my old Whitesnake cassettes. You know, here's the receipts.
Oh,
yeah. So
did you come and get it?
Did you come and get it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But
are you a love hunter though? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
Is that a love hunter?
That's Love Hunter.
That's Love Hunter. Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, well, it should
very
be.
PG. Yeah, very PG. But yeah, the story quickly of how I heard Whitesnake for the first time. We're on the school bus at high school.
Yeah.
And kid gets on the back in the day you had boom boxes, right? And he's playing this album. I'm like, oh shit, this is really great music. What the hell is this?
Sinners.
And he's like, oh, it's Whitesnake. I'm like, where the hell did you get that? He's like, oh, the guy at the flea market in Portchester has it. If you go, it was this guy Al who sold, import music, and it was, early. I think it was like 78 or something. I can't remember the year, but no, I never heard of Whitesnake or had heard him on the radio, so he had to go down and go buy all the cassettes eventually, and then later it was easier to find, obviously, but originally he's like no one knew who the hell they were here in the States, so it's kind of like part of the cool kids who had like, oh, I got the
You're ahead of the curve there, because they didn't become big in the States till the Hollywood MTV stuff in the late 80s, and the period I love particularly, and I know Willie was intimately involved with, was that 78 to 82, 83 period, when they were really just a British and Northern European phenomenon. I know there was a big US tour, but they weren't hitting the commercial.
I think we touched on it before. When David left Purple, or when Richie left Purple, and all of a sudden we've got Deep Purple sitting there looking at each other going, well, what do we do now? Each member of the band wanted to do their own stuff. John was always into his classical music. Glenn wanted to do an album, so I went and did his album with him. David wanted to do his album, so because I was still working for the company, I was still sent round working for the guys. So I was doing everybody's albums with them. And it was at that stage of the game, David's thing was going back to our roots, which, having sort of suddenly been playing to hundreds of thousands of people at California Jam, decided that it was time to do the small clubs around England again. And get the feel of the blues and the old rock and roll, which is exactly what he did. We ended up playing these little clubs all around England, and that's how you built up momentum. It's quite a clever move, really.
Yeah, and I recall them at that time as being, really sort of R&B influenced, bluesy.
Yeah,
very
all of the above. Yeah, absolutely.
bluesy,
That's what it's all
bluesy
about.
band. Yeah. Later on, they got a bit of a reputation as more of a heavy rock band. I mean, if you watch them in the 1979, 1980 era with that classic lineup we're going to talk about, it's a very loud sound. I mean, Purple loud. It's, I think, Willie, you may have frozen, unfortunately, but so
I have for a moment. It's
your picture is frozen for us. We can hear you okay, though. So,
okay, because mine is once again my picture's gone.
Yeah, I think you need to call your tech support.
Well,
Vanessa.
Well, I've just punched in the. Hold on.
Yeah, no worries. We'll keep going. So I'll say hello to the chat while you're having a look at that. Thanks everybody for being here. I know this is a special one-off show and not on the regular schedule, so I do appreciate you guys seeking this out and finding us. So, Davina, good to see you. I'm sure you'll ply us with a lot of facts throughout the show. Our great wrench, D. Bud Martin, thanks for being here, buddy. I always appreciate your coming in and joining in. Obviously, Dustin and Mark are in the chat, and you're both with us. The Anima Confusa, hey lass, nice to see you. Lisa, who's given Mark a hard time, obviously, but it's okay, Lisa, because only eight people will watch the stream, so nobody at his work will know we're doing.
Hopefully, no one else at work, right?
Hopefully, we'll pick up a few replay views. This is the danger of doing a one-off stream, of course. You tend to pick up more in the replay than you do live. Thanks everyone for being here, and anyone else that's listening, and also over in Rumble. And I think we got somebody over in Rumble. It's my great friend Christian Delorme is over there, so check that in. And I might even be trying to stream this on. Might even try to stream this on Twitter today. I don't know how that works, but so I'll just say hello to Christian over there on Rumble. And anyone else that's watching over there. And yeah, I mean, I said it to try and stream on Twitter as an experiment, but I don't see anything happening, so clearly that doesn't work.
I've been streaming over too. What's going on? That was weird.
Hello. Go on.
Very strange.
That was really, really weird.
Okay.
He's spontaneously combusted.
So Willie, we can hear you. We just can't see you at the moment, but that was rather bizarre. But
okay, I'll have to get my tech up again.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll throw.
I don't know why it keeps doing this, but I will go down and I will check.
No problem, sir. We've got lots we can continue to do. So, Mark, thank you for sharing those cassettes. That's actually what I had in that era. I whilst I had a lot of vinyl, I couldn't really afford to buy tons of vinyl, so I had a lot of stuff in cassette, and I wish I'd kept them. It's one of my great regrets. I had all
you
those.
Got rid of your tapes, or
99% of them, and now I bitterly regret it. I had all the Whitesnake tapes because I didn't have them on vinyl, and I could get the tapes for cheaper, and I could play them in the car. You see, so I had all of those. Yes.
Portable music. Imagine this: 60 minutes of music.
Music, exactly.
I mean, it's so easy.
And it was one of my formative bands of that era. So in 1978, when I first recall seeing Whitesnake, David Coverdale's Whitesnake, I was 15.
Put in help me and push it again.
Oh, well, okay, thanks.
You know, and you know the problem with cassette inlays is reading the lyrics. You need
they shrank since high school. I have to say it was really easy to read in high school, but
I can't read them now. It's ridiculous.
Now, but I mean, that was the great thing about vinyl. Of course, you got the classic, huge, album covers and things. But
and I know that
still got the info snuck in here, but younger eyes could read it better.
Oh no, I bitterly regret getting rid of mine, Mark. I mean, those are just wonderful things, and they are collectible now. A good classic rock albums and cassette are collectible. I have all the Whitesnake, that period of Whitesnake on digital, but I got recently, if anyone's looking to get into the band out there from the 78-82 period, you could do a lot worse than getting this CD box set. I'm just going to throw it up here. This is called the Little Box of Snakes. You'll probably pick this up for like $40. And it's got all of the albums from 77 through to 82, including the Snakebite EP and 2 live albums. It's not deluxe editions. It's just the straightforward original releases, but you'll get a booklet with it, with lyrics. And it's got it's the slipcase ones, reproductions of the covers of those. Nice, but really nice for like $40. You can have every Whitesnake album from that period, including the original Snakebite EP that kicked it all off, with Bloody Mary, Steal Away, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City, which became the signature song of the band, and just awesome stuff. So
that's a great EP. Yeah, just listened to it today again.
Yeah, that opening track, Bloody Mary, is a brilliant track. So I want to throw a few images up on the screen, Willie, and we can just talk about some stuff. And by the way, everybody in the chat, thanks again for being here. And if you want to, click that like button, share the stream out, and see if we can get a few more eyeballs on Bernie and Whitesnake. So images, yes, I have some images that we're going to share. So obviously, from the little tribute video I did the other day, which got about 1,700 views in that, which was me, is a lot of views. R.I.P. Bernie, lovely guy by all accounts. Willie, yeah.
Yeah, he was certainly life and soul. Well, when I say life and soul of the party, between him and Mickey Moody, they were like the Laurel and Hardy of the band. They were just always getting up to no good.
I believe you encouraged them in that somewhat, though, did you not?
Sorry?
Didn't you encourage them in that?
No, certainly not. Well, I used to get dragged into it.
Yeah, but come on. I know for a fact that on Live in the Heart of the City, your credit on this album says Willie Fyffe, resident jester.
I think that's because at the time I didn't have any title. I wasn't tour managing. I was really just looking after David and the guys at the time. Those early days of Whitesnake were really great fun days. We used to do the albums in a little studio in up in London called Central Sound or Central Sound Studios. That was like the joke became, it was so small. We used to call it studio and sauna. It used to get so hot in there. It was so real and we used to come out dripping out of there and go over the road to the pub just to get some fresh air and a pint, They were exceptional fun, because everybody was just really into it. In the early days, obviously it was Bernie, Mickey, Neil on bass,
David Dowell was
David Dowell was on drums originally, and a guy called Brian Johnston, who was a Scottish lad who was a good lad actually, but he was always lashed up. He was a good lad. And obviously they played the game until John and Ian sort of got broached, and that to me that change just made such a difference.
I mean, it became, I mean, as I was saying earlier, when you watched that lineup play live, the power behind it.
Oh, it just totally changed.
Yeah, powerful band. It's like, I hesitate to say Deep Purple Mark II, because it isn't, but it's got Lord and Pace and Coverdale.
You can't go wrong with Pace.
Can't go wrong. 2 kick-ass guitar players.
I know.
And Neil Murray, one of the best bass players ever to come out of Britain.
Oh yeah,
undersung but brilliant bass player, jazz player really with Colosseum. So this
how can you beat that for a lineup? It's a great band.
And the power, I remember seeing them live, which is why they were kind of associated with the metal scene at the time. They were a hard rock band. The power behind that band live was just phenomenal. Even though they didn't lose that bluesy edge. It was definitely a hard rock band at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
This article is talking about the debut outing of the band after David's second solo album, because he had 2 solo albums. Whitesnake was one,
And Northwinds.
and Northwinds, and then formed the band Whitesnake. And I
Well,
guess this is
he called the album Whitesnake as a title, and it's when he did the Whitesnake, it was then he decided that was going to be the name of the band.
yeah, and of course he said if he'd been born in Africa, it would have been Black Snake. But so I wonder what he was.
Member. It could have
I
been
wonder what
Member, it could have been Rattler, it could have been all sorts.
I wonder what he was talking about.
No double entendre there.
No double entendres
No.
with Whitesnake
Especially
ever.
if you read the song titles, there's never any
No.
question about.
That's right. A good religious praying band. Yes, there was no. So so this does mention some gigs here. Were you involved with these? So there's like Wolverhampton, Lafayette, Ilford Oscars, Scarborough Penthouse. Were these the clubs you were talking about? They started.
Oh yeah, I mean, I forget which gig it was now. In fact, if Neil was with us now, he'd go, "Oh, that was the so and so gig in whatever," and it was something like Scarborough, where David went to raise his hand to punch the sky and actually stuck his hand through the roof
Oh, jeez.
on the stage. That's how small it was.
So
and he was covered in polystyrene and bits of dust and.
Did the band get charged for that? Did they have to pay for it?
No, not that. I don't think so. I think we
Oh,
blamed
no.
it on them having such a small stage.
Yeah.
I think we got out. Technicality got us out of that, I think.
How did it feel though for the band and for you touring in those little clubs, given that you'd done things with Purple and Rainbow that were just like the California Jam, enormous gigs? This was way back down to the beginning.
It was nice in as much as that David was the one that actually instigated going back to his roots or going back to the roots and doing the small clubs. I think at that stage of the game, we didn't really have an option. Although he sung with Deep Purple, he couldn't actually go out and go, right, I'm David Coverdale, let's go and fill an auditorium. So it wasn't really like a great option, but it seemed like the best attitude to take at the time. And which was back to our roots. We'll do all the small clubs, build up a reputation, build up and of course then every time an album was done, the gigs got slightly bigger, and then we ended up doing the Hammersmith Odeons and all the De Montfort Halls. It was just stepping up gradually, and they and now of course they of late they've been doing the Coliseums again and the arenas.
Yeah, he's back to arenas, obviously, because of the hits in the 70s.
It was a good place to start for his band, yeah.
I do admire that, though. I mean, start from the bottom, work your way up hard.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there was really an option.
And it was very much a three. I mean, it was Bernie and Mickey and David. It was not just David Coverdale's band. It was the three of them together, really.
I think that's what made the band, and that's why I think David kept them on board, because that did make the difference. Bernie and Mickey, 2 great players, and you got those guys behind you. In effect, you could put anybody else in to fill in.
Yeah,
in theory, but obviously, when we got rid of Dave Dowell and Brian, the keyboard player, and all of a sudden John and Pacey came in, then you're talking, that was Whitesnake proper, right?
Well, look at right there is the band
that's the band, yeah.
That's the band. That's the band I loved deeply at the time, and and I saw them as interesting times, 78 to 80. You still had some of the heavy metal titans around, like Sabbath and Zeppelin, but you also had the new wave of British heavy metal. So Maiden and bands like Iron Maiden and Saxon were starting to make traction. You had Motorhead, so they were also seen as a new player. You had Priest, and then you had the punks. So where for you did Whitesnake fit into that? Did they fit with one side or the other? Or
well, I think a lot of interest. I mean, I think basically because of David came from that stock, from the Purple stock. Yeah. And then once John and Ian joined the band, and the rest of the guys already had a good street cred. Neil was on bass, Bernie and Mickey had been around for quite a while. And I think when people actually just suddenly started to check them out, they went, "Oh,
Yeah, you heard them.
Fucking
Once you
rocking
heard
band.
them.
And
Oh,
as you
they're
say,
pretty good,
they had the R&B sound, a little bit of bluesy, and then the heavy, the rock edge. It was a good mixture. And
Yeah.
you know, what David would have, it would always have a bad salad or a sad ballad, as you used to call it. And it was that was for the girls, because
Yeah.
David was quite a girls' man, as you may have gathered.
No, there's no way. I don't believe that at all.
No, it's been a rumor flying around, which I've denied for years.
Yeah.
No dancing girls on cars, right?
No disrespect to Bernie, but when you see him on stage with David in that anniversary gig at Manchester, there's a slight difference in presentation, I would say.
Yes, yeah. Bernie was obviously lacking a lot in height, and after a while he was becoming a little stocky, but that didn't detract from his talent as a guitar player.
And writer.
He had an amazing voice too. I mean, when you listen to him on some of the
His
tracks,
voice was great. I did it once again. I did his solo album too, and About Time too. And when we were doing the album, he had all sorts of people come in. He had Simon Phillips coming in on drums. He had Jack Bruce coming to play a few bass parts. So there was an in and outdoor of all these great people that he admired a lot coming in to play on his album. Cozy came in, he did some tracks.
This is the 83.
So there's all the plethora of these stars coming through. So it was really interesting to do. And
I was listening here. I go again, acoustic with him. You know, him singing. You know, when he passed, and a ton of YouTube videos are going around. Like, you know, my God, what a great voice he has too, which people probably overlook.
Yeah.
Which adds to the band too. You know, even as a background singer. You know,
Yeah.
That's why I focused on one of those clips in the montage on Bernie singing, because David did throw the vocal to him a few times, because he's a very good singer as well.
Yeah.
And I've do
see this picture now that you've got up there. That's got Dave Dowell, and by this stage, Brian Johnson had gone, and that's Pete Solly on the end, that used to be with Procol Harum.
Oh yeah.
So he was around for a little while. He did on the album. He did some work and was around for a while. But you know, like everybody else, they go where the money is. Of course, Pete Solly would go and earn a lot of money doing session work, and that's where he went.
Because I guess starting in Whitesnake, it was a slog. It was back to root basics, as you say. The money would be okay, but not brilliant. You can make much more as a session guy.
No, that's right. So I think the rest of the guys that were involved were quite happy to toe the line until things got better, and then obviously when things took off, they'd expect to reap some form of benefits.
Yeah, and I think money did play a large factor in what happened in 82, 83 era. In terms of,
I mean, John, bless him, I think John joined the band. He and Pacey have been mates obviously for years through the Purple link, and were neighbours in Henley. And you know, if you went to Ian's house, John would show up, and vice versa. If you were at John's house, Ian would show up. They were good mates. So they were kind of a unit. John, I think at the time, was probably just come out of a divorce, I guess, with Judith. So he was needing money. So this was a good step for him to take. He's what he knew. He enjoyed working with the guys. As we all know, his eventual thing was the classical movie. That's what he really wanted to do, John.
Yes, and he was such a well-trained classical
trained
player.
I think he'd have enough of the rock and roll kind of thing. He did it to an end.
And went back to it later with the reformed Purple, of course.
Yes.
But I guess he'd done a bit of his own stuff in between. Great musicians.
He did a lot. Sarah Band, and obviously Pace, Ashton and Lord was another thing.
Yeah, I always thought Pace, Ashton and Lord could have called themselves Pace, Ashton, Lord, Gardner and Dyke. I think that would have been a much better name.
That's a lot.
Because then I could remember them as one band.
That's right. Well, I mean, Tony Ashton was another talent, a lovely man, funny man.
Was that the Resurrection Shuffle, Ashton?
Oh yeah, he was great. He was such a funny guy. I remember it was John Lord's birthday, and we were rehearsing in a place in North London that we always used, the rehearsal studios. And there was a pub round the corner called the White Horse that was run by Hitchcock, his name was. What's his name? It wasn't Alfred. It was Hitchcock. Joe Hitchcock, I think his name was, and won awards playing darts. He was a professional dart player, and now ran this pub. Well, we're sitting in the pub on John's birthday having a few pints, and we're sitting waiting for Tony Ashton. Now, of course, in those days, there weren't mobile phones. So we sat and we waited, and we had another drink, and we waited. And then people starting to go, well, if we're not going back to rehearsals, I'm going home. And this pub had these, well, you probably remember them, Brian, the Victorian buildings had these huge curtains over the door.
Oh, yeah.
Big, thick, to stop the draft. And all of a sudden, this curtain started to bang it, and in fell Tony Ashton carrying a toilet bowl with a flower in it, and fell up to the bar and put it on the bar, straightened up the flower and went, oh, happy birthday, John. I'll have a pint. And we all just looked at him.
What am I going to do with that? Yeah.
I know. Sat on the bar with Joe, the landlord's going, beautiful man, funny man.
I'm more interested in where he got it from. Who's missing a toilet?
We never asked. It was a brand new one. It wasn't a dirty one. It was a brand new one, which makes you worry. So it makes you wonder even more.
Depot or somebody got robbed, yeah. That's the kind of stories we love to hear.
Oh, yeah, he's a lovely man, Tony.
Brilliant. You don't hear these sort of bands nowadays. It's all too business-like. But
I never got any crappy presents like that from friends for my birthday.
Well, no, you shouldn't have said that. You see, you never know, because now Brian knows what to get you.
I've written it down, Mark. Don't worry.
Most of the people listening to go, oh,
yeah.
Shitter. Right?
That's been written down.
One of those tall ones for older folks now. Yeah,
that one's filed for the first time we meet in person. They were a big. I remember them being. I mean, they were very popular with us rock guys. You know, the denim jacketed guys with the patches. That was me. Yeah, very popular in that. You know, they were in right up there with the AC/DCs, the Quos, the Priests. Seen as a band in that mold, albeit they had the blues spin that some of those bands didn't have as much. Not obviously in the metal league of Jethro Tull. I mean, they were the metal band, but the success. There was success came in Britain with, Top of the Pops, hit singles, Top of the Pops, Old Grey Whistle Test, festivals, lots of tours, some success in Europe, just commercially at that time didn't happen in America, even though you've toured there. So
when was the first American tour? What year was that? Do you remember?
Well, our first tour of America, we went to LA to begin with, and I remember we stayed at the Sunset Marquee, which nowadays you have to have, it costs you an arm and a leg to stay in there. But in those days, it was kind of the place to hang. And who was it was Whitesnake and the road crew. It was all Elton John's road crew, and it was ABBA and their road crew.
Wow.
All staying in this hotel.
I bet they were tough bastards, the ABBA road crew. I bet they were hard men.
I mean, you can just imagine what went on in there. I've got a picture somewhere of me and the guys with ABBA, Bjorn and Benny, and I think Mickey Moody and Bernie and me, and we're looking at this Playboy picture or something next to Paul. We never saw the girls. The girls never came out.
No, I bet the guys liked a bit of a drink in the party, though.
Oh, my Lord.
And the girls would be hanging around ABBA, the fan girls.
Oh, yeah. Well, once the girls, it went round that they were staying in that hotel, everybody turned up, all the girls. It was no... I mean, there you go. Look at that.
That's one of the pictures you sent me of that. I think it's at the 1980-81 tour.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the first tours that...
The LA tour you started at, yeah.
Yeah, that was a horrible bus too. God.
I mean, I don't know whether the hair is because the bus has been going for a long time. The hairdo.
Or whether it was new when we got it. Yeah.
Fun days. Were these headlining gigs or joint gigs or supporting people?
No, I don't think we were headlining at that stage of the game, as I recall. It was we were kind of second to the bill or opening for bands.
Oh, his Foghat. That one says Foghat.
Oh,
This
there you
is
go. Yeah, Foghat and Whitesnake. Yeah,
Alpine Valley Music Theatre. I don't even know where that is.
Well, that was a great gig, outdoor
Chicago.
gig. Yeah, it was.
Chicago, I think.
I like those gigs. The
Pine Knob.
They're open air basically, or open air but covered roof sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
I think Dustin and Martin and I have all been at a lot of those in our time. I know that the Pine Knob in Michigan is a brilliant one.
That's it, Pine Knob. That's another one. Yeah,
there's some great gigs there. And in Dallas, they had a amphitheater like that. Reunion Park, I think it was, or whatever. Well, they go through different names. Pine Knob's a great one. But I love the lineup in this week. You got ZZ Top, Loverboy, Foghat, Whitesnake, Tom Petty, Ozzy Osbourne, Def Leppard, and Journey. I mean, that's a gig every night you could go to.
Def Leppard is
amazing, isn't it?
Covering well, yeah.
Somehow ZZ Top and Loverboy kind of
That's a weird lineup right there. Just ZZ Top and Loverboy.
I know. Got a Canadian band, Loverboy. So
yeah.
So this is the kind of circuit you were doing in '80 with Whitesnake, and it was.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Christ, we were still doing those gigs with Iron Maiden and stuff. All the outdoor gigs, they were filling gigs.
Yeah, you did Maiden. You did Tull. Jethro Tull was a band that you toured with.
Yeah, Scorpions, Motorheads. There was all sorts of
AC/DC, maybe even.
Yeah, AC/DC. God, well, we supported AC/DC on their tour. We had Whitesnake. I can't remember which year it was, but yeah, that was so much fun because what they did is under the stage, under the drum riser, they had a dartboard and a bar. So Brian would come off and go, 2 pints late, where you are, man? Fucking way you. We were sitting there playing darts and cards and dominoes, and we actually had a laminate which you got for this bar under the stage, and never a boring moment. There was always fun. In fact, we got into a bit of trouble, as I recall, because we'd had, Rowan, Mr. Bean,
Rowan Atkinson.
He did a sketch on a TV program where he's speaking like that. Excuse me.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was one of our things in Whitesnake. Excuse me, it's coming next door. And we hadn't twigged at the time. We'd got called in by management to ask what all this. We said, well, it's and apparently Angus had taken a bit of umbrage to it because he spoke a bit like that. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yes.
Right. He thought you were taking the piss.
We had no idea because we hadn't sat and had a conversation with him. We thought,
I wouldn't worry about it. He's a little guy. He can handle
it. I know, but he had a big minder.
All right.
Big John used to ride on his back. Yeah.
Oh, that's the guy who went round on his back. Because I saw that.
John Ferguson, in fact, later managed David for a while and started managing Whitesnake.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know that. But I remember going to see AC/DC in back in Black Tour at Birmingham Odeon, and he did the thing when he got in the back and went round the back of the hall. That must have been John Ferguson, yeah.
John Ferguson, I think he's had many over the years, but yeah, John Ferguson would have.
Yeah, it's a great moment in the gig, and I can't remember. I don't think he had a radio, linked back to the amp. He must have had a cable carried all the way around behind him.
Yeah, that must have been real tricky because they were around, but they weren't very good in the early days.
No radio remote,
signals and pick up the local cab company in the middle of a solo.
Yeah.
454, okay. Well,
it was pretty effective, though, I have to say, because the entire theatre was following him around.
That's it, yeah.
People just leaping out in front of him.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you had to pass it over your head. It's rock and roll. But yeah, you did a bunch of tours, British, American, Japan.
I gotta add that I just found out that Snake is X-rated. I never noticed that. I was reading up on the band, and
that's typical David. Yeah,
typical. If you go back to that 70s, I mean, I don't know if you caught that or go back to Come and Get It.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the poster.
The Snake's Mouth.
The Snake's Mouth. Oh yeah, that was David's.
Oh thing. Right, hang on. I've got the album
done years later, but that's kind of an X-rated Snake.
Is that
it certainly is. But David knew that. He didn't come as a surprise. That's what he liked, you know.
Sorry, come and get it. We're talking
very
about.
double entendre. If you look at the snake, look at the mouth.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Oh, no, I
yeah,
see that. Yeah.
I
that's
never
all
got
David's thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Such artistic endeavor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to just. I know I mean, I was going to go through the whole band member by member, but we've kind of jumped on the gigs. I do have to share my one, of course, and it's not on a normal ticket. It's weird. They wrote it. I wasn't a VIP ticket. Don't get the wrong impression.
Ticket, right?
I went to buy the ticket, and they said, "Oh, we've run out of printed ones," and they wrote my seat on it
and pocketed the fiver off it.
Pocketed the fiver, yes.
Yeah, stuck it straight in the skyrocket.
Jammy bastards, yeah. But that was Wednesday, 26th August 81. I think they did 2 nights at the Playhouse in a row.
Wow.
This was one of the greatest gigs I've ever been to. It was awesome. It was that full power of that classic lineup. Great gig. And I've forgotten Billy Squire was a support act. I even forgot.
Yeah, that's well. I remember it purely because my mate Doogie was tour managing him. You know, as I said, he died quite recently, but shame, like they all have. I mean,
with good times, great memories, a fantastic gig, great venue, the Playhouse. I saw a lot of big bands like the Who and people like that.
So was the Apollo in Glasgow. That was a great gig.
Well,
it's just one. It's set in. It's just rock and roll. You know.
Well, we talked about it with Mal Craggs and the Glasgow Apollo Quo gigs, with the balcony would jump up and down by 2 feet.
Breathing, yes.
The band the crowd are jumping up and down. Yeah. Don't stand underneath.
So many times there, you'd turn around and you'd see your bass stack going down the road, and there'd be some guy about 3 foot just carrying this whole stack, trying to nick it. You know,
they used to nick pedals in clubs when I went to gigs. They would nick pedals off the stage if it's a small stage in a club. The band would come back out for an encore and be, "Where's my pedals gone?
Where's my wah-wah pedal? Where's my effects?"
Oh, you rotten bastards, you know.
I know it.
But this is the famous gig that was ended up in the album, of course, Live in the Heart of the City. Again, that brilliant lineup.
Yeah,
David's a great singer. I mean, for all people, we might criticize him for certain things later in his career in terms of the Hollywood stuff.
In those days, he was a great singer,
bluesy, soulful singer, and also great with quiet melodic stuff too. He's got good range, and people used to do the trade-off thing in Purple. Well, Gillan's better than Coverdale, and Coverdale's better. I don't care. I like them all. In fact, they weren't even the first. Ian wasn't even the first, of course, in Purple. It was Rod
Evans.
Rod Evans was the first singer, but and Nicky Simper was in the band then. So I think they both got their qualities, and I love them both.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I love that original logo too, and they changed the logo, years later. But that classic logo is the best. Yeah,
it's a big sausage.
White David Coverdale's white sausage.
Yeah.
You see, that Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. When we were playing a gig in Germany, and we got the news that John Lennon had been shot, and David got up on stage and sang that for John Lennon, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City.
Yeah. It became the signature song of the band. It still is, I think, even in the current incarnation.
Great song. Yeah.
The crowd, it's long, it's bluesy, it's a Bobby Blue Bland song. And I think they just did it on the first EP just to have filler. And it became the song in that era.
Yeah.
Like every gig, everyone the whole crowd singing along. They stopped the band. Crowd would sing it.
Very effective. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. There was a little clip of it in the opening montage. It's kind of sends a bit of a shiver down my spine because I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I think it still does.
Yeah.
It's held up well, that song. It's
whole crowd singing. It's just, and it must have been fun.
It's a great version. Yeah.
Yeah. And those being with the band in those gigs, I think must have been a lot of fun.
It was. There was obviously a lot of pressure because David was always under pressure.
Money. Yeah.
Always worried about, was that all right? Or is my voice all right? Can you hear that? Yes, David, everything's fine. But yeah, it was fun. Those days were fun. There was never a dull moment. We always had fun. If there was a bad gig or a bad day, we'd always end up smiling through it, laughing, having jokes, playing tricks. It was always fun. They were a good fun band to be around.
Yeah, those are good times. I mean, things fell apart a bit later for various reasons, and
Sure.
you know, people changed a little bit. Don't want to get
Yeah.
into too much of that, but I think that 78 to 82 period, I got the feeling of a band that was at the peak of its powers and enjoying what it was doing.
I think musically too, they're at their peak then too.
Yeah.
Because I said you'd have John's input on keyboards, which made a lot of difference to songs. You got both Bernie and Mickey on guitars playing great riffs. Yeah,
and the twin leads, which is brilliant. Yeah.
That's it. You know, you had great rhythm section. You know, Pacey and Neil, strong outfit, and then David at the front. So their writing was good. You know, the input from all the band was always good.
Oh, the songs there's some incredible songs throughout the albums. What was it? 6 studio albums, an EP live album. The material is great. You know, Don't Break My Heart Again.
Yeah.
Would I Lie to You is a fantastic track. Walking in the Shadow of the Blues.
That's a cool. Yeah, some great songs.
Beautiful. Love Hunter is such a powerful. That's the most metal song, I think, in their arsenal. But yeah, just track after track, and I think everyone knows a couple of the hits, but each album is great.
The albums are all really strong albums. You know, there's no really bad. You know, sometimes you get some albums there's one hit on it, and then the rest is a lot of garbage. But that's the one thing I'm lucky about being a little bit older. I guess we bought cassettes or albums, or we had you'd listen the whole damn thing through, and then when you bought it, I listened to that over and over and over again for hours. If you spent your $5 or $8 on a cassette, you're playing it over, and my buddy Larry maybe was listening. I think I bought Led Zeppelin album one time. It was Physical Graffiti, I think, the double album, and he took it away from me because I kept playing it so much.
Stop it. Went into my bag. There were albums like that with friends of mine. I'd hide their tape. They just play it over and over, and I would just hide it. They'd keep finding it.
When the tape players that would go back to the start again were invented, that's it. You just put it in and left it.
So but the thing is, you learn all these songs. So like today, I wonder if not to pick on the youngins, but if you miss a lot of tunes or songs that maybe you would really like personally, maybe it's not a hit, but something, there's some songs on some of those albums that I love, and maybe today you'd never even listen to it. I mean, or never even hear it because you just Here I Go Again, and of course when that got released again and became popular, like. In my opinion, I thought they messed up the song. I'm like, I love the original.
Too overproduced the later one, and I'm not sure if Martin Birch was still producing them then, but I preferred the 82 version. It's slower and bluesier, with more feeling. But yeah, each of these albums is just chock full of great tracks. Nobody's talking about these albums now. Come and Get It, Love Hunter. Ready and Willing, which was my all-time favorite at the time. I played that to death on the cassette. Ready and Willing was the big one. Live in the Heart of the City, Saints and Sinners. These are great LPs, and we've got the cover images on files. Everyone knows like Fool for Your Lovin'. Well, yeah, quite rightly, it's great, but the rest of the material is just phenomenal.
Doing albums was always fun with these guys too. I mean, you get times when it might be the backing tracks have been done, and it might be just David, Birchie, and me in the studio. We'd always have a laugh, always have fun. And I remember David didn't need me one day, and we had a guy working for us called Stuart, who did a lot of work with Clapton. So he came up to me one day and said, "Look, I'm going over to Clapton's to have a beer. Do you want to come?" And I said, "Oh, we're doing an album in, I'm trying to get the name of the place now. It's out in the country, not far from here, where I am."
Where are you right
Lovely place. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, we went to Clapton's house and met him for a drink. When we got there, he was already in bed or hadn't got out of bed. Paddy was there, and she said he's one of the spare rooms. He took a bottle of brandy and went to bed. So we searched for him and we found where he was, and he sat up with the empty bottle of brandy and went, "Hi guys, pub." And we went, "Yeah, fine."
Pub. First thing ever. Pub.
Woke up, pub. Breakfast, pub.
I remember those days. It was like that.
I
It's
know,
like,
they
oh,
were good, weren't they?
let's go to the
And,
pub. That was the thing.
So he said, "I've got to show you my new car." So he ran off to the garage and came back, this top of the range Merc, beautiful Merc. And Patty said, "No, I won't come in the car with you. I'll go with Stuart. I'll see it to Parrot." So, Willie, you go with Eric. I went, "Okay." So anyway, Eric was driving not very well because I think he was still half asleep. But we got to the pub and he couldn't park the car. I said, "Look, I'll park the car, mate. I'll have a pint. I'll be in a minute." So I parked the car, put the keys in my pocket, remembering this is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We came out of that pub about midnight. I said, "I'll drive. I don't trust your driving." So I got in this car, and on the way to his house, there's like an avenue of trees, no street lights. Went down this, and he said, "Put your foot down." I went, "No." So it's a bit. He said, "Go on, give it some welly. See what you can do with it." And I went, put my foot down a little bit. I'm kind of going. In the end, he leant over and pushed his hand on my foot on the accelerator, and the car went.
Oh, God.
And there's me hanging on for life to this wheel.
And it's pitch black.
Somewhere I didn't recognize. I don't know where we were. Don't know the streets. Cut a long story short, we got there. By the time we got to his house, I'd sobered up.
Yeah.
I'd sobered up.
That could have been
had a few drinks, and then Stuart said, "Come on, we'd best get back to the studio." So we said our goodbyes. I got back to the studio, and what all the band had done, they'd moved my room, my entire room, wardrobe, bed, seats, luggage, in the front garden of the studio, lights and everything.
You know, you could have been a headline in the Sun newspaper the following day if things had gone wrong.
I probably wrote it. I probably sold the story. But yeah, I know. I slept in the bed. I just got into the bed and I slept in that bed.
You didn't care.
Well, that's kind of every night then, though, wasn't it, really?
Didn't give a shit.
I do remember that, though.
That's what they do to you.
At lunchtime, it would be, yeah, we'll go down the pub. And that was it till the end of the day. Or we might go to another pub at some point. But
yeah. But once you get settled and you know, why move?
And then if the music was good that we're playing and there was maybe a band, it was just, that's it, we're here for the day. And you'd eat there and then chaos ensued. And then the next morning was a bit.
How cool is that, though?
But we were young.
It was.
We were young.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say hello to a few people in the chat. So Seb, hey, how are you, Seb? Good to see you here. I didn't exist until the 90s. Wish I was alive in the 70s and 80s. Great music. It was. I mean, even I wish I was born a little earlier than I was because I missed some of the stuff in the mid 70s. I was too young. Late 70s. So 77 onwards was my gig going start. Such great stuff when I look back at those concert tickets and bills of that era. I mean, you were there for a lot of it, Willie. I mean, it's just it's like classic rock gold.
Yes, brilliant.
So
right, it was a great time for music, and a lot of kids that are really into the music now, they do look back, and a lot of them do say, "I wish I was around." You know.
Yeah, it just we look at these concert bills that we see from the 70s and 80s, and we think, "My God, you could see 4 of those great bands on one bill." You know.
And it didn't cost you an arm and a leg too. Like, you know, if you tried to go to Taylor Swift today, what is it?
No, silly money.
$100. Yeah. I mean, you know, concerts when I was a kid were $18 or $15, you know.
It cost us our livers though, Mark. That was
is that for the team?
Yeah. So David March says it's just rock and roll and I like it. And that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
As Motorhead Lemmy said, we play rock and roll. Pete Dencat, good to see you, buddy. He once saw Mickey Moody playing a band at the Line in Warrington. My mate got his plectrum.
Wow.
He's still out there, Mickey. I don't know if he's still doing gigs, but he's still out there.
Yeah. Oh, Mickey is, yeah.
Yeah, he's still with us. We're going to talk about some of the band members. Now, this is Pete mentions Axe Attack 2. I had those two compilation albums, Axe Attack and Axe Attack 2 on cassette, and they had a collection of like the Scorpions, Whitesnake, Status Quo, all the metal acts of the era were on those little like K-Tel things. They were great. And I played them again and again and again. They were just so good. Axe Attack 2. I had that, Pete. I had that as well. Favorite song, David March's favorite song is Judgment Day. Interesting choice. Good one, though. Interesting choice. And Dustin was 2 months old for Reading Rock 79. Well, your parents could have taken you. Pete's been down a Grand Funk Railroad rabbit hole this week. This is what happens. You listen to a song and you go, oh, I want to hear more, and you go down the rabbit hole, on YouTube particularly. Wine, Women, and Song always gets my cakes shaking. Love Whitesnake. Yeah. They were a brilliant, brilliant band. FKCH is here. Good to see you, buddy. So we have a super chat. Thank you, David March, for a $5 super chat, which will keep the lights on in the studio here. Is this love that I'm feeling? Or 70s rock fan? Well, hopefully you're metaphorically feeling 70s rock fan. My favorite song is Walking Hand in Hand Through the Fields of Fire on the Road to Judgment Day. Yeah, great song, mate. Thank you very much for that. We shall play a little clip, and it's going to be this one. Yeah, the great Bernie Marsden with the song he co-wrote, Here I Go Again. A beautiful melodic guitar player.
Yeah.
Not a thrasher or a shredder. He could rock, but that beautiful fluid solos just gorgeous.
And that Gibson, oh man, the Beast. Fortune, man.
So who looked after the Beast on tour?
Well, depends, because we had so many different roadies throughout.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if he always took the Beast on tour. I don't recall it being any of those small gigs.
No, too dodgy.
Because that's probably where, I mean, you do those gigs, like I said before, stuff walks. You know, you see guitars disappear.
And that was like a 58 Les Paul Gold or something.
I think it's earlier than that, isn't it? I think.
Oh, 57, maybe 56.
It's got to be worth millions. I mean, everybody's had it. Peter Green had it. Gary Moore wanted it. I mean, the history of it is quite
Peter Green's one, yeah. And he worked with Peter Green.
So it was very valuable in the 80s, too, or, you know, when he was, even back then. I'm
yeah. Well, you couldn't afford to buy a new one, never mind a vintage one that had that pedigree.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Peter Green.
You could probably pick up one of those quite reasonably, but you couldn't afford a new one.
No. I had a copy.
Of course, that's totally now.
I had a Japanese copy, Gibson Les Paul, but it was still pretty good. I mean, it was all right.
Japanese make good stuff, but it's
and now people buy them for real because they're brilliant guitars. But then it was that's a Japanese copy of a Les Paul. It didn't
probably worth now more than what the original Les Paul was.
It would. I mean, I bitterly regret getting rid of it. I wish I had it now, but it cost me £30 to buy, but that was like a week's wages. So
you got paid that much?
Well, a week, and this was like 83, 84 maybe. So but maybe did get paid that much. Even in the God bless Her Majesty's Air Force paid me that much.
Yeah, God bless.
I couldn't eat for a week or drink, but I had the guitar.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, and the Fender Vibro Champ. I had a little Fender Vibro Champ. Yeah, So I was made. I could play all 3 chords.
All 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you ate. You didn't eat, but I'm guessing you maybe had a few beers.
My friends subbed me for some beers until I got.
It's funny how you can never afford to eat, but there's always money for a beer.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was good fun. Fiddling about with that guitar, lovely guitar. So yeah, there were the more of these fantastic gigs. Whitehead, Whitesnake. I'm thinking of Motorhead and Girl School, head girl.
Yeah, oh yeah, bless.
Because I saw Motorhead on these at the bottom of this one.
Yeah,
so Reading was a big thing then.
Wilco Johnson, yeah.
Look at that lineup for Reading Rock 79. Whitesnake were on one day with Peter Gabriel above them. So they're second on the bill. That's not bad given Gabriel was huge.
Steve Hackett and then Gillan. Wow.
Steve Hackett, Gillan. Gillan's further down. It probably made him feel a bit awkward with David being second on the bill. He's fourth.
Wow.
Thin Lizzy topping it with Brian Robertson, of course.
Well, yeah, Robbo, yeah.
Yeah, so great guy. And Motorhead, he turned up Motorhead, who were down on the day before with the Police and the Tourists and Wilco.
Wilco Johnson, yeah.
I love Wilco. What a great lineup.
Well, yeah.
So do you remember much about that particular festival and the gig?
Festivals were always a mind block because you'd get there when you could and you'd hang around for ages, hurry up and wait. You know, the band would either want to eat or they want to drink or they want to do something. There was always too much hectic going on at those sort of gigs.
Yeah.
You know, making sure that everything's okay, ready for the guys to go on. And of course, when you came off, then it was party time.
Yeah.
What's there to remember, you know?
True. Do you recall the reception that the band got at that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had, they always got a good reception.
Because you can never tell with those festivals. Like Reading had such a mixture of bands and styles.
Yeah.
That you know, some of them were punks and some of them were prog.
Yeah.
So, a weird festival. I loved the fact they put them all together though, the different genres.
In those days they did. Nowadays you've got 3 or 4 different stages.
Yeah.
You know, if you do some of the gigs and then if you happen to be the punks and you eat the wrong stage.
Yeah.
You know.
You look at that again. I mean, if you look at the bottom one, the same day Whitesnake are on, the Ramones are the special guests.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Molly Hatchet as well. Good
Molly
God.
Hatchet, who I've seen After the Fire. Remember them? Laser Love,
Yeah.
Der Kommissar.
You see, that particular one, 79, I don't recall that because you occasionally when you got to a gig, there'd be the area backstage and there'd be a bar and occasionally you'd bump into people.
Yeah.
You know, you're not chatting. And I mean, I worked with Peter Gabriel, obviously with Genesis on the Selling England by the Pound tour. What a lovely guy he was, real nice guy. And of course, you got Steve Hackett on the next one.
Sorry.
And I was talking with Steve Hackett a month ago, 6 weeks ago at a gig up the road.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to him at the time, I said, I haven't seen you since Selling England by the Pound. He went, what? I said, yeah, 1972.
73. Still one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's a great album. Great.
And I'm a big Steve Hackett fan. Got a lot of his solo
Great
stuff.
player. Yeah.
If you bump into him again, tell him I'm interested in talking to him. So.
I doubt if I will, but if I do, I'll certainly mention.
I would give my right arm to chat to Steve Hackett because I love the mid-period Genesis, all that 12-string stuff, and very individual player. He doesn't play again shredding solos. It's all long sustained notes with melodic stuff. He bends a lot. It's beautiful stuff. So, but yeah, those lineups are just the best. The Whitesnake were a big part of that period. And if you look at the Reading Rock 80, again, just an incredible bunch of bands. You've got Whitesnake now headlining above Def Leppard and Gary Moore. And Blizzard of Oz is a special guest. What a day to be a part of. What a day, yeah. And UFO, one of my favorite bands, who Bernie Marsden was in briefly. on the previous day with Iron Maiden supporting, and then Rory, the great Rory Gallagher, on the first day.
What's that? Is that Ozzy? I'm trying to read. Is it Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz, or what is that?
It's Blizzard of Oz. Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're just going to play like the album in its entirety type of thing?
Well, that's what he called his band live at that period.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he called the band that, yeah.
I've just sent you a picture, by the way, Brian, on your WhatsApp.
Oh, right, hang on. Yes. Let me just get that into position where I can show it. It'll take me a minute or two, but
Nice. Just to show you that's where I was at.
no, that's a good one. So you guys talk amongst yourselves while I try and do the technical thing.
You're so tentacle, you are.
I'm so tentacled. Forward is what I'm looking for. Share. That's what I'm looking for. Share.
It was great.
There we go.
It's the weirdest thing. It was Lisa, who was the wife to John Wetton, the bass player from Asia and family.
Oh yeah, John Wetton.
I just had a gig up the road from me. A nice little gig. And everybody was there. Chapo was there, Rick Wakeman. It was a great night down there. At one of these strangest of gigs. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's half a furniture shop. There you go. There's Steve. Yeah.
Wow.
Looking a bit bedraggled.
He's knackered from touring.
Mind you, there, I've been drinking all day. So
yeah.
I was still standing up on one crutch.
Oh yeah, because you've got that. I can see that. Yeah, your ankles, your poor ankles, buddy. Your poor ankles.
My wee ankles. Yeah, they're kind of cattle trucks at the moment.
Yeah, you had a pass though. You were backstage pass.
Oh, it was part of the gig. Yeah, I had to pass. That's all I needed.
Beautiful. Love that, mate. That's so nice to see.
But that's the first time I'd seen him since 1972.
Wow.
Crazy.
He remembered you though. He remembered you. Clearly, you made an impression.
Then I was working for Phil Collins, and Phil was kind of the elusive drummer. You could never pin him down enough to go, is the kit all right tonight? Is there anything you want me to change? He'd be gone. He was like,
yeah,
very
flighty.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah. Well, we saw also what happened to him.
Oh, 80, that's another one. They're headlining that one.
Well, that's the one. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Now you're headlining above Def Leppard.
Yeah, remember that one
with Ozzy Osbourne as a special guest. Did the special guest play second or did they play third?
I don't know. I think they probably usually play before us, but
yeah,
they're really weird things because a lot of people will really not want to go on stage, especially if they've got a decent light show if it's still light, obviously.
Yes.
So there was always a fight to
be late.
Got on, some people would have a nice light show, not that it was their rig, but they would insist on going on as late as they could so they could use good light effects.
Yeah. Yeah. So in £12.50 for this. I wanted to go. I was in the military and I couldn't get the time to go to I couldn't get off to go to this one. I would have had to get time off and it wasn't happening. Otherwise I would have been there at that, because look at that lineup. Rory, UFO, Maiden, just killer.
Look at Rory Gallagher too.
I know, I love Rory Gallagher as well.
Oh, mate. And once again, special guest Gillan. Yeah.
Gillan made it up to second on the bill from fourth.
That's it, yeah.
I hope he wasn't playing the jazz stuff. I hope he was playing
the Let's hope not.
Clear Rail Turbulence, which is a great poster, but it's a very jazzy album. But, yeah, and here's another one which is going to make Mark's heart glad.
Jethro Tull and
$7.50. The Spectrum, which is in America, I think. But
Tull and Whitesnake.
Wow. Yeah, that's in Philadelphia, isn't it? Spectrum.
Is that in Philadelphia? So Tull and Whitesnake.
What year is that again?
Oh, this will be 81, I think. Yep. Yeah. Willie?
Yeah, something like that.
Then Yes.
God.
Yes, with Jeff Down. Now, I saw Yes on that tour in Britain, the drama tour with Jeff Downs and Trevor Horn at the Buggles.
Oh, Jeff Downs, yeah.
That's the Yes tour I saw.
Yeah.
And then the Kinks, which we did a show on recently.
Wow.
Low budget era.
So cool.
So what
God,
do you what do you recall about the Tull experience on that tour? Working with Tull?
Not a great deal. I used to know Glenn Cornick, the bass player, but I think by that time he'd gone. Ian Anderson, as I said, that was Whitesnake then. He was, I think at that stage of the game, I'm either too busy running around. I didn't really get to see a lot. I did used to work quite hard. I mean, at those gigs, I used to make up for it when we're back at the hotel. But up until then, trying to get 6 members into a limo or a bus to get back somewhere is always a lot of hard work. I don't recall ever seeing much of Jethro.
No.
I saw him over many years because, as I said, I remember doing Long Beach with Richie, and Richie wanted to go and see the show, so we took him to see Jethro Tull.
Right.
And great show it was too. I mean, it was at Long Beach Arena, I think, at Long Beach. Great show, but I don't ever remember standing on the side of the stage watching the Tull show.
No.
Yeah, we didn't have time. As you said, right? You're working a lot of times, and you're.
Well, that's it. You're looking after David and things like that. It doesn't give you a lot of time.
This American touring that you did in that year, I think you played a few individual gigs in other years, but this was the big tour at that time. How different an experience was it for you from touring with Deep Purple, for instance, who were huge in America? Was it a very much more compressed thing? It wasn't a plane, it was a limo or a bus.
Yeah, a bus. I don't think we had limos at that stage until a bit later on. It is a different class because when you were with Purple, you'd come in a limousine, you'd come straight through the back door up to the stage or the dressing rooms and get out and into the dressing room. And when it's time to go home, you come out the dressing room into the car and you go back to the hotel. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
When you're doing things like with Whitesnake, you turn up in a minibus or a car that the promoter sent you, Honda Civic with a roof rack, and then you have to fight your way through the crowds to get in the back door.
A bit more basic then.
It's a slightly different regime.
Yeah, still a lot of fun. I mean, were you doing a lot of that organizing, or were you just kind of getting your guys to organize it and you were kind of overseeing the band?
I was just my main criteria at the time was looking after David. And but obviously it involved, we had another guy, Magnet or Jimmy Ayres would be around, which are tour managers. So they would be leading the fore and I'd be bringing up the rear, making, it was more than the one-man job to get that done.
So how much hair product did you have to buy every day for him then?
Well, not so much the hair product. It was getting the oxygen mask or the oxygen tin actually refilled for Davey when he used to come off stage.
He was doing that.
Oxygen. Yeah. Oh,
could just breathe air.
No, David in the early days was a crack. It was good. He was one of the lads, and then stage by stage, he elevated.
Became a star. Yeah.
I mean, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he said, and he was a good friend with David. He said, "Oh, I got there, and security said, again, he invited me to the gig, went to see the show, left tickets, and then all of a sudden he said I wasn't allowed to go in and see him. He wasn't seeing anybody. So you kind of go, oh well, there you go. So it's
shame, shame.
I've got. I've lost you all again.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. You've
give me a second.
No problem. Whilst you're getting that back. Oh, sorry, Courtney. Hi, Courtney. Good to see you, lass. Courtney was at the Motorhead stream. That was awesome.
It's always good to see Courtney.
It is. Courtney, fantastic line. She's got so many gig memories of the Philadelphia area. Did you play at the Derby? Did you play in Derby? Do you remember? In Philadelphia or near Philadelphia? I think Willie's occupied.
Louisville, blimey.
So that was till.
That looks like the A Tour in 1981. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So till were at their peak of their heavy metal period. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was actually supposed to be an Ian Anderson solo album, and then they made him release it as a Tull album. They flipped the whole lineup of the band there.
Yeah, that's so Courtney's reminding me. So Willie.
Yeah.
Did Whitesnake ever play or did you ever put on gigs at the Tower Theatre in Upper Darby in Pennsylvania? Because that seemed to be a lot of bands played there.
It doesn't ring any bells.
No.
But it's you do when you're going on tour and you come from one tour to the next and you go. Sometimes you recognise the gigs. Other times you get to see a dressing room. You walk to the stage, you do the gig, walk back off stage to a dressing room. Then you're off back to the hotel, and you don't even know where you've played. I know it sounds like a cop out.
No, I get it because every hotel's the same. Every hotel's the same. Every airport's the same.
Exactly. And oddly enough, we were talking about this the other day. A mate of mine, Cosmo, who does Aerosmith and Scorpions, is their LD. I met him. He was over, and we had a couple of beers over in Brighton. And guess who I saw in something like Tokyo Airport? He's seen a mate of his that he hadn't seen in like 15 years that lives 3 hours from his house. And he bumps into him in Tokyo Airport, and you kind of go, that's what happens. You don't see friends and family for years, and then you're in the middle of Atlanta and someone goes, "Hey, Willie." You go, "Hey, how you doing, mate?"
Typically, as a non-famous person, it's one place you do see a lot of famous people is in airports.
Yeah,
I've bumped into loads of actors and musicians in airports. Yeah. And some of them have been fairly pleasant.
Well, you're lucky. Yeah.
Some of them were like,
who's the weirdest you met at an airport then? Who's the weirdest one?
Weirdest. Well, it wasn't really weird, but I can't. Oh God, I forgot his name now. He's a guy that played Doctor Who, but it wasn't one of the main Doctor Who guys. He's the guy that played in later Doctor Who's. He played the first Doctor, William Hartnell. He was playing William Hartnell playing Doctor Who, and I can't remember his name now. But he was in Game of Thrones. I can't remember his name now. He was the shitty old guy that the girl killed, and
she killed everybody.
Yeah, the little girl killed him. I think he might have been the Red Wedding guy. I think it's the same actor. Okay. Anyway, I bumped into him, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at me, going, "I think he knows who I am." And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at him, going, "I know who he is, but I can't remember his name." So the other weird guy was in the top floor of John Lewis in Edinburgh, John Lewis department store. I bumped into the guy who played the computer on Red Dwarf, but not the girl, the guy that was before him.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name either, but I bumped into him, and he's wandering around the linen department. I'm going, "How you doing? You still in Red Dwarf?" Nah, Norman Lovett, I think. Nah, I'm not doing that anymore. I think he was there to do a show for the festival. But he was like, "This guy recognized me. That's weird." I was into sci-fi, so But I mean, you must have bumped into a few guys, Willie, that maybe you thought you knew, or they thought
all sorts. Yeah, but one that always stands out in my mind was the guy that played Jaws, Richard Keel.
Yeah,
came into the airport one day. The whole airport just went. And this monster of a guy came in, and he had about 30 kids hanging off him, on his shoulders, on his arms, on his legs. And he just walked into the air, and the kids were having an absolute blast. Absolute blast.
David Bradley, that's the guy's name. It was in Toronto, the airport in Toronto.
Oh, okay, David Bradley. Oh, well
Bradley,
done.
Yeah. I think he played in Doctor Who, being John Pertwee. He certainly was in Game of Thrones, but and he was like, "This, does he know who I am?" And I'm thinking, "Does he know I know who he is?"
Yeah. thought you were someone famous. 70s.
Well, maybe maybe he thought I was there to pick him up in a vehicle. I don't know, because I was looking at him going, I know that guy from somewhere. But, yeah, I wanted to just show a couple more of these posters, and then I've got some pictures of yours, Willie, that we can share. Then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the albums and the music, because Monsters of Rock became a thing, obviously, eventually in Donington. This is the 1981 with AC/DC topping the bill, but look at those bands.
I know Slade as well.
Slade, who Courtney and I love.
The Oyster Cult. Man.
Blackfoot, I've seen 3 or 4 times in that era in concert, and they were brilliant. Ricky Medlock. They were supporting Scorpions the first time I saw them in Wolverhampton Civic Hall, and they were just massive. They just blew the audience away in that gig. Yeah. Great band. So that was a big one. I mean, this is pioneering the big metal festivals that came to be the years after.
Yeah, I've got somewhere plaques. I've got in the other room somewhere plaques like this, and I've got posters and all sorts, not so much posters, but plaques.
Yeah.
When you play music or something in a minute or another track, I'm going to go and see if I can find something in the other room.
Sure. No, I just vamp. We can vamp, buddy. Yeah, no problem. If you want to go look for some stuff, because we'd love to see it.
I'm going to go have a look, see what I can find in there. It's just crazy. It's got a room full of shit.
Yeah, take a few minutes. We'll hide the stream in case you got no pants on.
Oh yeah, please do.
Wait, we're supposed to wear pants?
Yeah, apparently some people on the internet wear pants. I never knew, but I don't. I mean, it's
just remember not to stand up. Yeah,
it's very restrictive. So I did want to talk a little
album. Sorry,
I mean, it's so no. Go ahead, mate. It's so great to have.
Well, stand up, yeah, great, and of course, great classic vinyl. If you've got the original pop-up, album of that one,
it's so great to have Willie on here though, because he's got such great memories and knows all these wonderful people. And
Courtney's asking about Tawny Katane, so I'm glad we didn't have to ask that. But
I don't know if I think that was post Willie's era with.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I really wanted to talk about the 78-82 era. Because first of all,
request and ask though. Yeah.
I think we should talk about it. Yeah. The 78 to 82 era of Whitesnake for me is the big era. I mean, the other stuff was fun because it was MTV and they had more hair product than a soap opera star. But I like the more gritty, bluesy, proper, forgive me those who love later Whitesnake, and I'm not knocking them because they're John Sykes and Steve Vai and some great musicians. I'm a fan of the 70s stuff because that's my name, and I love that. Different sound, yeah, gritty blues rock sound as opposed to the later more.
They kept getting compared to Zeppelin and Coverdale especially, so it's something maybe we could ask about. And I think it's kind of unfair to wrap them with being a Zeppelin clone, but I think the sound is somewhat similar, but you could say the same for a ton of bands around that time period. So
I would agree with you. There's a blues element to both Zeppelin and that era of Whitesnake, but I think Zeppelin also had that kind of folky Asgard type thing going on. Whereas Whitesnake were a more straightforward R&B blues-based band. The Zeppelin are just this other thing.
Yeah, but a lot of people, compare them or put them in that. It's always tough to categorize music too. It's like always just love what you listen to and don't worry what people call it. But I mean, I guess that's the. A lot of the same fans, though, I'd have to say. So, of course, when Zeppelin breaks up in 78 and you're looking for that, next big super group, or, you've got, of course, some huge, groups at the time. But that kind of filled that niche for me, too, when I first heard them. Like, kind of reminds me of Zeppelin, but not in a bad way.
No.
The kind of sound that, the kind of music you enjoyed listening to. So.
That 78-82 era of Whitesnake was my prime rock metal years. I mean, as I say, I was a denim jacketed clad, starting going to gigs, loved Quo and Slade, and then I got into Deep Purple and Sabbath and Zeppelin, and then Motorhead and Priest were becoming big. It was just my stuff. That was what I was listening to then. To be fair, I had a lot of progressive rock stuff too, like Rush and Genesis. But the hard rock stuff was big, and Whitesnake for me were big in that stuff. I didn't see them as well. You've got Sabbath up here and Whitesnake down here. To me, they were equal. It was equal. I loved them equally. I saw Whitesnake as a big part of that. I think later on they're possibly overlooked when people look back on that era of British metal.
Especially since the band became so quote unquote popular later in the States.
Yeah.
Those albums sometimes got overlooked, or
I
was telling people, here I go again. I'm like, oh, I love the original version much better. Like, what do you mean the original version? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, this is
the 82 version on Saints and Sinners. Yeah. Like,
what do you?
So I'd say to people, go listen to this album, Saints and Sinners.
Saints and Sinners, yeah.
Martin Birch production as well, I think, Willie. Brilliant album, just packed full of great metal, rock, blues tracks, and full of the original. Here I go again. But if you want a live album and to see the power of the band and the classic lineup, it's this, which was now you would have been there when the Hammersmith gigs were recorded for this, because I think it's in Hammersmith in 80.
Yeah, it is. I think we did 2 nights there, I think.
Yeah, this is a powerful album, and it's great. There's a lot of footage of it live. You can see they rocked hard, and it was a magical experience on that too.
Yeah,
and I saw them not long before that, so in August.
I think they expanded that album years later, or the remix, or I think they added more tracks, right? To that.
Yeah, they've got the great this is just the Box of Snakes, which is the basic albums. There are tons of repackaged deluxe ones with extra tracks, and they're great. So, Willie, what have you got for us?
Well, oddly enough, I think all the Whitesnake stuff is upstairs, but this is all like Dio and.
Oops, sorry, wrong one. I got to put you. There you go. Oh, look at that, jeez. And you got that for working that gig, I guess. Yeah,
and it's been up there ever since. I mean, nice. Just get one for all the band and myself, and
so Willie
management. I think
one
of the other stuff was it's all Dio, and that is a flask that were given to us by the record company.
Yep.
They'd given us this outfit. It was like an army bag, and inside was that, some toilet paper, condoms, toothbrush, Rizzlers. It was all the bases for
flavored condoms, I hope.
Heavy metal ones or black ones, yeah. But it was just a great thing for the record.
Oh, sorry, wrong button. I pressed the wrong button. I think I've
that's good.
I think I've hidden Mark. Sorry, Mark. Wrong button.
All the Whitesnake stuff, I think, is up in the loft. All the plaques from Edinburgh and things like that.
If you were up for it, mate, we could do another stream.
We'll do another one. I'll track some stuff out.
At your convenience, we'll definitely do that. I had some pictures. Yeah, we talked about some of the photos you sent me before when we had the show before. This is some weird puppetry going on. I'm not quite sure.
I can't remember where that puppet came from. I don't know what Cozy's doing. It looks like he's chewing something.
He's chewing.
I looked at that picture the other day and suddenly realised that those two of those guys are no longer with us.
Well, indeed, John Cozy went long ago. It's such a shame.
I mean,
I saw him play with like 5 different bands. He was so good.
Cozy was great.
Rainbow, Whitesnake, Brian May. I saw him play with a bunch of bands.
Yeah. Oh,
And this one.
That's the other one, yeah. And 3 of them are dead. Mel was
gone.
a great lad. He That's a Whitesnake tour. That is the tour. We were in Germany and we had a day off, and David said, "Gentlemen, I think we should go out and paint the town red." So we went, yeah, right. And there was this fairground in town. So we hit all the Glühwein and the beers, and slowly but surely we got rat-assed. And then we got so rat-assed, we decided to jump over these cars. And Mel Galley had jumped off the front of this car and fallen over, swiftly followed by John Sykes, who landed on Mel's arm and broke it. That was when Mel broke his arm.
Oh yeah, because he had to play in a brace. He had a brace,
yes.
And he could play.
Yeah, and that tour, he had to go home. His arm was so bad, and Coverdale had me helping sing backing vocals on the side of the stage because Mel wasn't there.
Wow, yeah.
But Mel ended up having all these things pinned up and metal this thing.
And he still tried to play. Yeah,
he couldn't, man. It was bless him. He just
John
couldn't.
Sykes as well.
John Sykes felt so guilty.
Yeah,
he was because what's happening? You all right, man? I go, look, Mel's going. I think it might be broken. I looked at Mel. I didn't have to look at his arm. And Mel had gone grey. I said, "Yes, it's broken."
For a guitar player, it's just
you know.
I love John Sykes. Thin Lizzy and Whitesnake, and great guitar player too. So whilst I love Bernie and Neil, Sykes and Galley were great as well. There's no doubt about it. They're great guitar players. I think this was 83, maybe, or 84.
It's got to be tour, because not long after that tour, I left Whitesnake. I think I went with Ronnie after that.
Oh right, yeah. But
yeah, David was changing everybody around anything because they all disappeared. The next time I looked, he had a band I didn't even recognize.
Different band, yeah. It became a completely different band. I think Sykes and Murray
individually, they're all great players. You know, Aldrich was on drums, and Vi was here, and this, and John Sykes was.
Different feel though, very different.
And it just wasn't the same thing. It was like watching 5 individual guys get up and playing with David.
Session guys with David, yeah.
It was never the same, I don't think.
Then 81, that's 80 or 81 in America. But we've got some other non-Whitesnake stuff. You got Mickey D here and Dio. And
that's right. Well, that must have been with Motorhead. The guy I'm strangling is a good friend of mine from Sweden. Is with Hell's Angels, Buffu. Simon Wright is on the left doing the sign.
Yeah.
And Scott Warren, the other side of Mickey D, was the keyboard player with Ronnie. So that had to be when we were working with Motorhead.
It is. I think Mickey's got a Motorhead shirt on, and fun times, my friend. Fun times.
Mate, that was some great times. Never a dull moment, you know. Oh yeah. Now that was brilliant. I mean, you've got me there, and the guy between me and Ronnie is Chuck Garrick. He's the bass player with, and has been the bass player with Alice Cooper now for quite a few years.
Oh yeah.
He's a great guy.
I might have seen him then. I may have seen him play with Alice then,
yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy, great player. And of course, right on the far side there is Murray, God rest his soul. My good mate Murray.
I've seen. Yeah,
he was a sound engineer. He was great. He did everybody. He did Sabbath. He did Purple. He did Dio.
I think I got a couple of other pictures of him. Yeah, but this is an enactment of the Last Supper, I'm assuming. But,
we were in Italy, and it was one of those things where I think Ronnie picked up a plate and went, "Oh, does it look like a halo?" And everyone went, "Hey!" And then the Last Supper came to being, which is that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah,
once again, that's the thing that Ronnie always hated that. And I couldn't figure out. I said, "Why do you hate it?" And he'd say, "Well, say it quickly." I said, "DOA." He said, "Say it again." I said, "DOA."
DOA, yeah.
DOA. He said, "Dead on arrival." He said, "That's why I hate that." So it's, bless him. God bless him.
This is a good one, though.
No, brilliant.
Sadly missed the pair of them. Sadly.
It's great because on tour we were walking out and Ronnie said, "What should we do? We don't want to sit in the dressing room." So he went out to the catering room, and the buses are out the back, and he said, let's go and see Lemmy. Lemmy always sat on his bus. So he went along, knocked on the door, and the driver up and running went, sorry, mate, no one's allowed in. And give his voice in the background, who is it? Lemmy. He said, it's Willie and Ronnie. Let them in any time now. Let them in. So let us in. And straight away, the glasses came out, the Jack, full of Jack, and a whisper of Coca-Cola on the top and a bit of ice. And he took us to the back room and he said, I want you to have a listen to this. What do you think? And he put the tape in the machine and started to play. And it was Lemmy. The whole album was Lemmy singing songs by and the Crickets.
Oh, Buddy Holly.
He's doing all the Buddy Holly songs.
Because he loved rock and
Ron and
roll.
I looked at each other and went, anyway, we sat and listened to the whole thing. We said, look, we've got to go. We've done about 3 or 4 days. So we left. And as we left, Ronnie said, what did you think then? I said, do you know what? If it had been on anybody but Lemmy, it would have sucked. I said, but I thought it was fucking great.
I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
It's just something about Lemmy
he
doing
could He could actually play, like, he would sit and play flamenco guitar and stuff. He had the weirdest stuff he loved to play when he was not working, you know?
Oh, yeah. He used to have this little mini suitcase.
Yeah.
And he always had the same things. He had usually some special brew, a couple of packs of cigarette, some Jack Daniels or vodka, and then you'd have a load of cassettes. He was a huge fan on goon shows and things like that.
Oh, God,
he used to sit and play the goons.
Brought up in that era, of course, yeah.
He just loved it.
This is the favourite, though.
Oh.
It's like some kind of WWF wrestling.
It is. It is. Yeah. He was such a cool guy. We did. I think I told you last time round about doing this thing in Ireland.
Yeah.
No, did I not tell you? We had to fly over to Ireland to do a gig in Belfast.
Oh.
And as soon as we got there, we were arrested. Just got off the plane. So Lemmy, me, and the Minder were in one room, and then I think the drummer and Eddie went to another room, and anyway, we split into 3. So we're sitting there going, and I said, "Look, I'm not being funny." I said, "But we've got to do a sound check at the hall, doing a live recording for the BBC. If you're going to start searching, can you do the drummer and the sound man first? You start prodding fingers. Take these 2 first, so we can get them to the." Nothing was said. A few minutes later, a guy comes in, and I said, Lemmy gets out the drink, starts drinking vodka. So the guy looks at her, frowns a bit, and then gets on the phone and goes, a few minutes later, the governor comes in, looks at Lemmy and went, "Oh, you don't want none of that." And he goes over this, what looks like a dartboard, opens it up, and there's all these Pachin bottles in there. So he brings down the Pachin, says, "Try some of that." So we're all sitting there going, an hour of that, still nothing was done. We're still sitting there. And this went on, to cut a long story short, went on for hours. Eventually, they threw us out, took us to the venue, thought, great. And the guy wanted to see the show. So I said, "Give me a name, I'll give you some passes, come and see the show."
The currency, the universal currency.
Yeah, he turns up, the governor, with all his heavies.
Yeah.
And great show. The next day, we're about to leave, about to get on the plane.
Collar felt
again, same office. "Hello there, Willie. Hello there." Oh, open up. Out comes the Pachin. We're going, "Look, there's a flight. We've got to get on the flight. We've got to get on this plane, man. It's not going to wait for us." He gets on the phone and says, "Hold that plane." 2 hours later, pissed as rats, he takes us to the plane. All you could see when we arrived there, all these pissed off people looking out the window. Been sitting on the plane for 2 hours.
Yeah.
We get thrown on, and as we get onto the plane, he gives me his card. He says, "Next time you're here and you need some drugs, Willie, just fucking give me a call." And that's the Irish for you. We got on the plane, and all these real pissed off people.
Yeah, that's funny. So, I mean, on the Rock and Roll Rowdies last week, Wilco and Granny were talking about their in-jail experiences. So I'm guessing you've experienced similar scenarios.
I spoke to Wilco the other day. He phoned me up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get you on maybe next week if you're up for it. Next Rock and Roll.
Oh, is Wilco
Rowdies.
coming back next week?
Yeah, so we're doing a show tomorrow, but I think the week after, he's trying to get on from over there, but the others are all on too. So maybe if you're up for it, we should get you on the show next Thursday.
Yeah, we'll do that. Just
if you ever fancied it, mate. Yeah, because we're having Dustin's my co-host. We have a lot of fun. Guys are just talking about stories like this, you know.
There's millions of them, man. Millions of them.
So we'll see if we can line that up and get you on and spice them up a bit, you know.
Yeah,
Tell us the dirt they won't tell us about themselves.
There are some stories out there which we kind of go, not if I want to get sued, you know. But I mean, on the other hand, you go, I haven't got anything.
What does it matter? Yeah.
Leave me, take me to court. See you then. You know.
I wanted to show one more photo. That's very Scottish of me. And then we'll go back to the Whitesnake stuff because there's a few things we haven't talked about. It's this one. You mentioned your friend Murray. This is a nice picture you sent of Murray, Ian Gillan, and yourself. So
Murray was very special. He he did sound for everybody. He's from Susie and the Banshees, Purple, Black Sabbath, Whitesnake.
Yeah,
he did everybody. He was one
unsung hero, really.
Oh, he was, and a great guy. And he used to live up the road from where my sister lives in St Albans. So every time I go up there, we'd always end up meeting up just for a quick pint. You know, needless to say, he'd go home and get in his trouble with his wife after 6 hours, and my sister would throw my dinner at me. He was just such a great character. Miss him a lot. He was great fun.
Unsung hero, and it's nice to talk about him. And I'm glad you sent me those pictures of you and him. And I guess this is a Purple gig somewhere. But...
yeah, he was probably doing sound. He's one of those guys that Ian turned round on one particular occasion and went, "Oh well, you know, I mean, I had to do this and I had to do it." And Murray, typical Murray, went, "Oh, poor little singer. Oh, didn't you know?"
Yeah,
we all went. Murray didn't give a shit. Ian took a little bit of umbrage and sort of went off in a huff. That's the sort of guy Murray was. He didn't pull punches. But gone and forgotten the next day and was fine, back to normal. But
well, indeed,
they should do it. But Murray came back to us with Ronnie at one stage, and he'd said, "How did your tour go?" He was doing, I think, Susan the Banshees. He said, you know, they call me the Gladiator. And I went and looked at Ronnie, and Ronnie and I both went, "From here on in, you'll be known as the Radiator." And he went from this great right up here Gladiator to fucking Radiator. And he went, "Oh," you could see him deflating. So, here comes the Radiator, and you go,
it's a little bit more prosaic, I think. Yes,
but he took it well. He was
nice.
Great.
It was interesting to work with Susie, though. That's a good one. Courtney's into that.
Yeah, well, you know, you think at the time, it's like people go, "Well, why did you stick doing heavy metal and rock and roll?" And I said, "Well, I used to work with Leo Sayer. We used to work with Mud, Genesis."
I remember we talked about this because Mud was the first album I ever bought was Mud Rocks.
Oh, great.
And I love that. I still play it to this day, Dynamite.
Oh,
and she walked in looking like dynamite. And it was all great guitar, bass.
Yeah. Rob was a great player, very talented guy.
The bass player went on to write stuff for Kylie Minogue.
That was a guitar player. It was Rob.
Rob went on to do big career as a producer and like that Can't Get You Out of My Head. That's his song.
He did well out of that, Rob.
Smart guy, yeah. But yeah, I love those bands.
Yeah.
I love those. Leo Sayer was a great little guy.
It's just the fact that people assume that you chose who you went to be with. It's just the way the cards fell.
The gig went the way it went.
You know, and you know, you got to do a gig with Deep Purple, and 4 years later, you're still there. And then,
well, steady
just
work.
the way just where the cards fell, really.
Steady work is steady work. But I mean, a guy like Leo Sayer was very popular and did big tours.
Yeah, no, he was good. He was another talented boy.
Lovely little guy. Yeah,
yeah,
really.
he was
still
great
around. I think still around.
Yeah, he's moved to Australia now. He was over here not long ago touring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I want to look back at just a bit more Whitesnake. We do it. This is the classic stringed instrument part of the band.
Yeah.
With a great Scotsman in the middle, Neil Murray. If you're out there, Neil, because you're from my home city of Edinburgh, love you, man.
As I said, I spoke with him the other day, and he's got a cold. He's just finished the We Will Rock You tour, and he just had a tooth out, so he was feeling like crap the other day.
Well, Neil, when you're feeling better, buddy, I'd love to do a stream with you and Willie and talk about.
I'll speak with him, see if he's. I shouldn't think right now, but he would, I'm sure.
He can make up for all the gigs I've paid to see him playing.
Oh, there you go. That'll do it. You may be here for some time.
I may be here for some time. Yeah, I've even seen him with Peter Green. That's
wow. Yeah.
So we must pay tribute though to the great John Lord. Sadly departed, and all that wonderful music. I love that, just seeing him with a Hammond organ with the back off. You can see all the workings, just great. John Lord made one of the heaviest Hammond players around.
Oh, he was brilliant. I mean, there's not a great list, there's probably only half a dozen that you could probably put up there.
Stevie Winwood, maybe.
Yeah, Keith Emerson, and
Steve Murray. Not Steve Murray. Ian McLagan. Yeah.
Yeah, there's. I mean, actual organ players, Booker T and all those sort of things. We used to love Booker T in the MG.
But made a huge impact to the Whitesnake sound when he came on.
Oh yeah. Well, going back to it, it's like you say, you got David singing, so the chicks loved that, and you got the rock and roll guitar players loving Mickey, Moody, and Bernie for what they did.
Yeah.
Fans of John Lord, what's not to like,
Yeah. It was a powerful band live.
Oh,
powerful
man,
sound.
Kick ass. I can never figure out why David sort of let it all drift off into other fragmented players.
I mean, you were on the scene and would know more than any of us, but they'd had all these albums and yet they were still in debt, kind of thing. It's the way the business was,
Well,
How could you be in so much debt when you've got, it seemed like it was a pretty popular band.
6 or 7 top-selling albums in Britain. I mean,
yeah, just the record label screwing the artists
and
over.
Tours cost money, of course. Tours cost money, and even if they're
you think of a record label kind of like a bank. They loan you all this money to record records and put you out on tour, and until you pay them back with all the revenue, you owe them money.
Yeah. They were just like that, really. They're bankers.
Yeah, and
lots of bankers, mate.
And that causes tension in a band, especially. And I can see it from David's point of view. He would be carrying the can at the end of the day. So if you're 250,000 in debt, something maybe has to change. And much as you love the band and the people, you might have to do something different.
Let's put it this way: getting a different guitar player in, or 2 different guitar players and a different bass player in, is not going to make any more money than it was if he had the other guys.
No, I think the switch to sort of MTV Hollywood style stuff is what made it.
David did go for a lot of that,
and maybe he felt that Bernie and Mickey didn't fit that visual ethos. Is possibly yeah.
Oh, I know why I went for the prettier boy look. Yeah, I mean it just, to me, it's just really.
So Neil Murray, who is such a good bass player, Pete's mentioning he played in Sabbath with Cozy Powell and Tony Martin, which is actually an underrated Sabbath lineup. I mean, you can't do much better than with Tony and Cozy and Neil playing the music. It's just
I mean, you take them individually and go, fucking great players, but did they work as a band for you?
I mean, I like the Tony Martin stuff, but you'll never do better than the Ronnie era for me. I mean, Ozzy's great, but I loved the Ronnie James Dio Black Sabbath. That was my era. Yeah. But still, not a bad band, maybe not the most memorable material.
What did you think when Glenn Hughes went and joined, and Ian Gillan? I mean,
Yeah, the Gillan thing was interesting. I think that could have worked. Again, the material is what is important. And if the material isn't there, you can be the best musicians in the world. I don't think the songwriting was at its peak then. I'd like to have seen Ian really give it a go, though. I don't think he didn't stay long. But yeah, I mean, Dio was the guy for me that era. But yeah, Neil was also in the Brian May band, who I saw live.
Yes. Cozy again. Yeah.
Lovely gig with Cozy. I've seen Cozy Pearl so many times. Sadly missed. And of course, Cozy's solo material that Bernie played guitar on in the early 70s.
Yeah.
Dance with the Devil, Na Na Na, Hammer.
Yeah. Cozy Pearl's Hammer, wasn't it? Yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
That was, so I wished him a happy birthday the other day. So
well done.
Yeah, he's still with us. You've got to celebrate the ones that are still with us.
Yeah.
There's Brian May band. And I just thought I'd call Neil out because he is such a great bass player. Jazzy, he can play jazz, rock, R&B, metal, everything. And he's from Edinburgh. Good lad. And I saw him with the Peter Green Splinter Group live as well.
Splinter Group, yeah.
And Cozy, I think Cozy helped out in some of that too. So
yeah.
So I saw him play on that. I've seen him at least 3 times on those, but then obviously Whitesnake.
That's the band too. Yeah.
So to go back though to the guys that were in Whitesnake, we obviously had Neil. We had the great Ian Pacey, who obviously founder member of Deep Purple right back at the beginning, still there today. But I spent a nice period in Whitesnake. Actually, if you ever want to see him play a really good gig, watch the Paul McCartney at the Cavern with Ian Pace on drums and Dave Gilmour on guitar playing the rock and roll stuff. It's a brilliant gig. But Pacey, wonderful guy. And then Mickey Moody. I love the hats. The hats.
Yeah, he was the hat man, Mickey. He loved the hat.
Hat man, and great guy. And again, luckily still with us.
Yeah.
I've got to celebrate the ones that are with us. Then Cozy, of course, unfortunately, he was slightly after that era. Sadly departed. The only man that could play the 1812 overture on the drums.
Upside down, yeah.
Upside down. And then Mel Galley.
He was a lovely guy.
Lovely guy. A lot of health problems other than just breaking his arm. A lot of health issues. Poor guy. Yeah. So R.I.P. Mel.
I'm just messaging Neil Murray as we speak. He's online.
All right.
So
and then earlier drummer Dave Dowell didn't last too long in the band, but you've got to say hello to him, you know.
Oh, Duck Dowell, we used to call him.
Duck, yeah.
Yeah, Dave Duck Dowell.
And then some great memories. It's some fantastic gigs. Coverdale did there's the Whitesnake album that he was a solo, but he took the name and then later used it for the band.
That's right.
Were you involved with the recording of that at all?
No, I think I did some vocals on the North Winds,
which is this one, yeah.
Yeah. And I may have done something on the Whitesnake, the next one.
And then the first thing that I remember was the Snakebite EP.
Yeah.
With 8 No Love in the Heart of City on it. And great EP. And then
Snakebite,
yeah.
4 tracks on that. Yeah.
So
or EP, I should say.
Yeah. Different. It didn't have John Lord and keyboards at that point, but
that was Pete Sully, isn't it?
Yeah, Pete Sully. Great little EP. I like EPs. EPs were great. Got you into a band. You know, maybe you had to pay $2.99 to get it, not $8.99 for an album or whatever. And then Trouble, the first full album, first proper album. So by this time, you would be involved with both the touring and recording.
Sorry.
Yeah, you'd be involved with both the touring and recording by now.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time. That was probably in the Central Studio in Sauna. We did a lot of the first few albums were done down there. It was so tiny and hot. It could be winter outside, but you'd sweat your balls off in that place. But it was a great little studio.
Well, I guess it's intimate, intimate.
Yeah.
I like the cover of Day Tripper on that album.
Day Tripper, which was in the montage, is a really neat cover.
Yeah.
Take Me With You is a good song. Really, it's quite bluesy album. It didn't sell huge, but I guess it got them, as you say, it builds up. But not a bad album. And John Lord's on board, so that's it's still not Ian Pace, but it's getting closer to that lineup.
Dave Dell still.
Yeah, Lie Down's a great track. I mean, they're all good tracks.
John Lord is there. Yeah.
Yeah, John's there, but Pacey isn't quite there yet. But yeah, Day Tripper's a good cover. They didn't do too many covers. There was that and Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. I don't recall many others, but. And then the album, which the cover certainly attracted many boys of my age.
Well, I'm not why.
Not sure why. Love Hunter. Provocative is the word they used.
I was reading somewhere that the original art to that got stolen years ago.
Oh,
that's a very hentai kind of cover.
It is hentai, isn't it? If you think about it. And I don't know who did the cover art, but
I can't think.
No, I got the name. I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, it was Chris Achielos. It was the last album cover designed for many years until 2003.
Yeah,
and then they said that it was slightly controversial. I don't know why, but then they say it was stolen. The original art was stolen in the 80s, so he's still trying to recover it.
Right.
But
bless you.
Yeah, so good luck with that one.
Good luck with that one. So it mentions Clearwell Castle as being a venue for recording here.
Yeah, that was out in Monmouthshire. It's a crazy, weird, haunted place.
Yeah.
Many stories from there.
That would be neat. So what was that like, recording in a castle?
That was kind of weird. I mean, not so bad with Whitesnake. It was a bit trickier with Purple because Richie loves to make pranks, and he did some weird pranks in there. I think once again, Tony Ashton's story was John Lord had said that Tony Ashton was coming down to stay the weekend. And I think Richie and his guitar tech lifted some floorboards and put a Marshall amp speaker under the floorboards. And you know what's going to happen. So, of course, after an all night in the bar, Tony says, I'm going off to bed. See you later. Richie's gone, fucking great. Gave him 5 minutes to sort of get his head down.
Yeah.
And started all the rapping noises. After about 5 minutes of this, Tony Ashton came running down the stairs with just a bed sheet on. I mean, totally freaked out.
That's awesome.
Classic.
That's
I hope they never. I hope they never told him. I hope he never told him that it was a.
I'm pretty sure that somebody would have told him.
Somebody let him in because
eventually.
Yeah, I think John would have done. John wouldn't like to have seen Tony suffer.
You do get a credit on the album. It just says thanks to Willie. But
So what was the history? You remember anything about that cover, or who pushed for that? Was there blowback from the the label, or they didn't care what you put on the cover back then? Or
I think a lot of it's got to do with David's sensuality. He got to keep this image going, and
he's got a slight Lothario edge to him in a way that Ian Gillan didn't. Ian was more a masculine. I'm not saying David isn't masculine, but it's more of that kind of Mick Jaggery Lothario.
Yeah.
But I
I
can only
said
imagine,
before,
like the record executives, like, you want that for the cover, you know?
I
It's like
know.
going, Spinal Tap, the joke
Spinal
about Spinal
Clap would be more
Michael Clap.
That'll
That'll catch
Freudian
you.
slip. Freudian slip. Yeah.
That's a slip. Yeah, that smell the
Spinal
glove.
Clap.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just, that you look at that when I first saw that cover, I'm like, holy crap, how did that get, how'd they get that past,
Well,
anyone?
exactly. Now you see, you couldn't do that probably now.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the
God,
funny
no.
thing is, Mark, you and I have got it on cassette where it's a lot smaller. I wish I'd had the money
Yeah.
to buy the vinyl because it'd be a lot bigger. And
There are shops where you can get it blown up now, Brian. Just take them.
probably,
They'll blow it up for you, man. You have
Exactly.
a ceiling and
but you remember, the tracks on this "Long Way From Home," "Medicine Man's" a great track.
Yeah.
"Walking in the Shadow of the Blues," "Love
That's
Hunter Live." "Love Hunter Live" is just
Great, yeah.
fucking awesome. Yeah.
Rock and roll women. Oh, Courtney's asking about Tawny Katane again. She keeps.
Oh
in the
yeah. What
chat.
about you? Never. Tawny wasn't your era. David's girlfriend, Tawny Katane.
no, it was just after I'd left, I think. But I heard still new people in the camp, and
Yeah.
a lot of people going, this will not end well, and it didn't. I mean, I think she, from what I hear, she took him for a lot of what he already had.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he had to keep going back on the road to make up for it, I guess.
Still to this day, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, never trust a woman called Tawny, I guess, is the.
No, especially
Orchid.
spelled that way.
That's
No.
right. But again, this album, the cover was part of it, but the album did make it more of an impact. It was a hit in Britain. A lot of TV appearances, Top of the Pops, Old Grey Whistle Test, festivals. Well, you had Reading in '79. So it was the next one, though, that really did it for most people, which was Ready and Willing.
Yeah.
Which is still one of the classics of the era, one of the classic British metal albums, hard rock albums. Ready and Willing, big hit in Britain. Fool for Your Lovin', of course, lead single off that. It's like number 4 in British. So success was happening. I don't know about still nothing in America, but I don't know if they were
That one hit
released.
90. That one hit 90 in the U.S.
Right,
32 in Norway. First band to chart outside the U.K. 6 in the U.K. So yeah,
Right.
they're just starting to get some traction there.
Because there's some fantastic tracks on here. I mean, Ready and Willing, the title track. Ain't Gonna Cry No More. She's a Woman. Just beautiful stuff. It was a very powerful album. Willie, you get a credit on this one too.
Oh,
special thanks to Willie Fyffe, Steve Payne, Stuart Wicks, Willie Fyffe.
Steve, I heard from Steve the other day, actually.
Yeah.
Ozzy
Hopper.
Yeah.
Gets a lot of credits on these two. So the recording of this was at Ridge Farm. Is that the one you were thinking of earlier?
Ridge Farm, that's the one. That's the one where they put all my furniture in my bedroom outside and on the lawn.
Right. Ridge Farm and Central Studio and Sauna. It does call it Central Studio and Sauna.
Central Lawn, yeah.
And this was a big hit, and I had the cassette. It was in the car. It went round and round forever. Just kept going round and round.
Yeah.
Loved this song. And then, of course, I had to go see them live, and I did in 1980. So,
just so you know, my battery's running low, so I'm going to take you downstairs again.
That's what the actress said to the bishop. But
that's what the actress said to the bishop. I'm going to plug you in.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was, as I say, prime gig going era for me. I was in my peak of my big gig going because I could afford to go. I was getting paid, which was in the RAF by then. So I saw Rainbow, I saw Rush, I saw Kiss, I saw Motorhead, I saw AC/DC, I saw all those bands in this era, and Whitesnake were on that list. Well, I saw a lot of punk bands too, so it wasn't just metal. Hey, and I saw weird shit. I mean, the first band I ever saw was 10cc. The second person I ever saw live was Billy Joel.
Nice.
And that was me with my denim jacket on with all the patches. Billy Joel could.
I went to the first Billy Joel concert I went to. I'm like, why is everyone sitting down? Because I always used to go to metal concerts.
Yeah,
or,
me too.
I'm like, everyone's sitting down. I'm like, what the F is going on here?
Yeah.
And I paid a scalper in college $50 for second row seats in 87 or like I'm like, I can't believe I'm spending $50 to go to a concert. This is outrageous.
I saw him in 78 and it was £3. But
yeah.
And then Manfred Mann's Earth Band was the third gig I ever went to, and it was freaking awesome. I love Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Playing it was on the Watch tour where they were doing Davies on the Road again, and the reworked Mighty Quinn. Brilliant gig.
Yeah.
Chris Thompson's such a great singer. I don't know, Willie, if you've ever met Chris Thompson.
No, I haven't.
Brilliant singer. One of the most overlooked British singers in history. He's so good. He's also the guy that wrote You're the Voice, which became a huge hit for somebody else. It was Chris Thompson wrote it.
Oh, name.
But yeah. So you're plugged in.
I'm hoping I'm plugged in.
Yeah. We're just going to briefly go through the other albums, and then we'll all get out here and eat. And it must be getting late. What time is it for you, Willie? Must be 10 o'clock for you, or 7,
Sorry?
10? You're after 10 p.m. now, Willie, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. But all that stuff led to, there's a great press poster for Ready and Willing. Then it led to this album, which was a huge hit again, written live in the heart of the city, recorded at Hammersmith Odeon in June. A brilliant album, distills the best of the band live. Absolutely brilliant. And this is where you get your resident jester credit, Willie Fyffe.
Right, yes.
Resident jester.
I can't think why.
Can't think why. Tina Beans does everything.
Oh, bless, yeah.
So again, if I was to recommend one album that somebody wanted to find out about how good Whitesnake were in this period, it's this album, because live they were a tour de force.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. A great stage show with the band were all fantastic on stage. Just good stuff. And then Come and Get It was after that, with that cover that I'd never noticed what you said about that cover before.
You can't unsee that once you
can't unsee that now. Yeah.
Until I read that. Until I had
What small world you live in, Brian.
Can't unsee that.
I can understand how me in high school didn't catch that, but never mind. I won't say much. Yeah.
Another killer album. Come and Get It. Hot Stuff. Wine, Women, and Song.
Classic, yeah.
Hit and Run. Brilliant album. It's a band at the peak of their powers.
Got some great numbers on that.
Yeah, peak of their powers. This one was recorded at Startling Studios, Tittenhurst, Ascot.
Startling Studios was it used to belong to John Lennon. If you remember the big white room,
Tittenhurst.
That was Tittenhurst Park, which is where he lived. And then he sold it to Ringo. Ringo then changed it into a studio. Great vibes in that place, man. I mean, Bernie loved it there because it was just all the John Lennon vibe, him living there. Because the bedroom upstairs, either side of the double bed, there was a big brass plaque for the light saying John, and on the other side of the bed, Yoko. So I mean, that was.
This is where they recorded Imagine, isn't it?
That's right.
Imagine.
That's right. He did it downstairs in the room.
Yeah.
And it was such a buzz just to go in there and see the room and sit there and watch TV when you weren't recording.
John and Ringo. Yes, John and Ringo. Tittenhurst. Yeah, it features a lot in Beatles books. They talk about Tittenhurst and going out there in limos.
Park it was, yeah.
Yeah, nice experience. Lovely experience.
I've got photos of that I could probably send you too.
Yeah, please do for the next round, mate. If you're up for another round of this, it would be.
Yeah, I'm plugged in. Let me go up and get my phone, and I'll send you a couple of shots, which does include Bernie and Mickey Marsden.
Nice.
Mickey Mooney, Bernie Marsden, and Birchie. So let me go and get my other phone.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Yeah.
And I'll come back and I'll send you some.
Oh, conclusive proof you've got pants on. So just thank you everyone for being in the chat. I mean, we're now 2 hours 12 minutes in. I hope you guys are okay for another 10 minutes or so while we
Yeah.
I wanted to Pete's mentioning Don't Kill It Carol. I was actually watching 3 or 4 different videos of that last night. It's Manfred Mann's Earth Band track, which I absolutely adore, and it's an album called Angel Station. And the next underlooked albums video I'm trying to make, if I get time, is on the album Angel Station by Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and that's the lead track on it. Brilliant track with a great talk box piece on it. Somebody mentioned, the B. Some of the Whitesnake B-sides are really good, and you'll get those in the deluxe versions of the albums. I have got those digitally. I just don't have them on this. This set, Box of Snakes set is great if you just want the.
Well, I was looking at the catalog recently too, and they kept adding so much stuff to the tracks. Like if you look at Slide It In now, it's the deluxe version's got like 50 tracks on it. You almost get lost. But just you really just need the basic albums, or like that box set you pointed out 70.
If you want a starter set, Box of Snakes, you'll get that for $40 US. It's got 7 albums in it. It's got an extra Whitesnake Live at Hammersmith EP as well, which is great. And sorry, Davina, I wasn't ignoring your chat, but Boss Skaggs Silk Degrees is a beautiful, beautiful album. I'm a huge Boss Skaggs fan. Seen him in concert several times. He's a great singer, great guitar player. He's got some like if you ever hear a track called High Sierra by Boss Skaggs, it's one of the most beautiful songs you'll ever hear. And his version of Loan Me a Dime with Duane Allman on guitar way back in 1970 on one of his solo albums. I think it's the one just called Boss Skaggs. Sublime. He's a brilliant, brilliant musician, Boss Skaggs. Well underrated.
He is. I liked his stuff.
Yeah, he's great. Still around and still touring and playing. I went to see him with a thing called the Dukes of September. It was him, Donald Fagen, and Michael McDonald.
Oh,
it was a big open air gig in Toronto, one of those amphitheaters, and it was awesome because they just played hits and sang on each other's stuff. It was beautiful. And they'd all been on Steely Dan albums, so there was, a connection there. Dukes of September. So Harbor Lights, on Silk Degrees is a beautiful song. So the final record I wanted to just talk about was the last one that Bernie was on, Saints and Sinners, with a slightly different cover because it's a bit more statuesque. Still has the same risque material.
But not as overt, I guess, right?
Not as overt.
Argue that, it's from a nice Italian museum.
It's a little, Michelangelo. Great album again. The last one to feature Bernie, but he did write with David Here I Go Again, which became, this version's great, but the 87 version is the one that became the huge hit. But at least Bernie was still getting money out of it and songwriting awards for it. So there's something in that. And it's a little bit slicker, but still that bluesy, hard rock, rough and ready, Saints and Sinners, rock and roll angels. Brilliant album. These albums were all great. From the Trouble onwards, a fantastic selection of good old British bluesy hard rock, I would say. So,
yeah, if you haven't heard, anyone listening hasn't heard Here I Go Again from this album, it's my favorite version. Go check it out and listen to it. It's not incredibly different, just a subtle difference there that I really I think the song hits home a lot more on this version versus the
I would say it's slower. It's a little slower and a little bluesier, and the guitars are slightly different. You can hear the different. You hear Mick and Bernie, not I think it was John Sykes later and whoever else. It's different. I think it's better because it's not quite as overproduced.
Yeah.
as the later one. Hey, but the later one was the hit. I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, they're both. It's a great song, right? So, but it's just, especially I guess I listened to that for years. Then when the new version came out, I was like, why
Yeah.
the old version once in a while too? Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Willie, what have you got for us?
I've just sent you a picture, and I'm just going to send you another one.
He's testing my technical skills now.
I'm doing it on.
Oh yeah, I got you. Right. I will call those up then, my friend. And then we'll probably start to wrap up because it's hitting the 2.5 hour mark.
Okay.
Oh, I got to forward these to myself, being a silly person.
Yeah, it's always tough to stream and add stuff and
vamp for me.
Vamp for it.
Mark, you can vamp.
I can vamp. Yeah.
Anyone's got any questions for Willie? Now's a good time to ask them in the chat.
Yeah. But did you, Willie? Did you, when Saints and Sinners, did you have any inclination that the band would flip over, or when did you learn about that, or when that was kind of the end of the era with that album? But
I wasn't. I was just on my way out during Saints and Sinners, so I had other things on my agenda. So I didn't really get involved with that much. I think by then I was either going out with Ronnie.
Yeah, you headed into the deal.
At that stage, I think I worked for a promoter for a while. So I was going out doing everybody from Pretenders and
not one band, yeah.
Dr. Hook, and then it'd be somebody, and so I was doing quite a lot. And it was a bit of an era where I lost track of all time working. I really did. And then until I actually hooked up with Ronnie again, which was when he did the first Sabbath album. We hooked up again. I think we met at a gig somewhere, and he said, "You've got to come out with me. I'm going out to Sabbath." So that was my back in with Ronnie after a long time. Yeah.
So Saints and Sinners, you had planned to leave the band basically anyway and go with that promoter. So it sounds like
yeah. It was such a shame because I'd seen the transition of the band, and then David was unloading people. New management was coming in. Nobody felt safe about their job, and that included band members. And so at that stage, there was a lot of bad vibes going on, which is a shame because you see something that works so good. It's
a shame, yeah. But I mean, do you think the fact that they hadn't cracked America and you had toured there was just... Okay, it's gone. I was hearing, was that just me or was that?
Oh, I heard that.
Heard it too.
That was bizarre. We probably mentioned David, maybe David Coverdale, maybe something. Sorry, David. It's back again.
Is that Dustin or is that?
I'm trying to figure out who it might be. Hang on.
Wow.
It's Dustin. Sorry, Dustin.
You're hissing.
You shouldn't be
like a snake.
Shouldn't be vacuuming while you're on the stream. Pete mentions the track "Still the Night." Yeah, great track. So I've got these pictures now you've sent, thankfully. Hopefully everyone can see those. A little bit small on the screen, but So tell us about this.
That is on the Bullet Train, I believe, in Japan.
Oh, you toured Japan, yeah.
Oh yeah, anybody with Deep Purple, Rainbow, Whitesnake, all huge in Japan, never a problem. And that's Mickey Moody. And Fast Asleep there is the manager, John Coletta, rest in peace. He died a while back. And Neil Murray, you can see behind. I've got more shots somewhere.
So hang on, what the next one
is. I need to dig them out. This is Tittenhurst Park.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this photo is, if you imagine where the camera is taken, that's where the grand piano was. And those are the windows that looked out onto the lawn on the Imagine video.
Yeah.
And what they're doing here is on your left is Martin Birch, then Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden, and the guy who was one of the tape techs of the studio, whose name escapes me right now, so apologies for that. But what's happening is the room above was John and Yoko's bedroom.
Okay.
Now, their bed is where you can see the bottom of the picture, but above them is a huge mirror. So what they're doing there, they're looking up, watching Mr. Coverdale with some female. And obviously it's caused a lot of a stir.
So it's Whitesnake on tour, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it. Whitesnake out on yeah.
The Whitesnake itself was on tour, yes. And I guess the penis-shaped tree behind is a good.
That's. I think he's explaining what. I think he's showing somebody what that is.
That's rock and roll for you.
That photo would make a great album cover, actually.
So
it's good, isn't it? But Mr. Coverdale did go a bit berserk when he saw that. But hey, you know,
he found out later. But at the moment, I don't think he would have done anything to stop.
You mean he didn't notice the giant mirror?
He wouldn't have noticed. He was too involved. And the next shot I sent you is the same thing.
Oh, from a different angle, yeah.
But that is the bedroom there, the white window there. That's the bedroom.
Yeah.
And they're all looking up into John and Yoko's room.
It's a shame you didn't have cell phones then. You could have recorded.
Well, something like that happened to us in college. There was a friend who was running the shuttle bus, and the couple next door on the second floor like that, they left the light on the room at night, so you could see all the action through the shades. So gradually, like there are 30 guys outside, and we started laughing. You see the window, the shade opens, the girl looks out, and she's like, "Oh shit!" But you can see we were watching for about 10, good 10, 15 minutes.
You know, the only thing that's missing here, Willie, is if you all had those cards that they have at the gymnastics for scoring.
Yeah. With
you
points
held them up. That's right. Oh. Yeah, hold them up. 7.5, 3.2.
He would have come last too.
Well,
oh no, he would have come first probably. No,
is that, phrasing. That is awesome stuff. I'm sorry, Dustin had to drop out and miss that. That's so
as long as if you wouldn't mind destroying those once you've come off.
I promise I'll never show them again, send them to anyone, distribute them on Twitter and Instagram. No, I wouldn't.
I just gave 70s $50 for them.
That's right.
Well, send my 25 bucks.
Well, you do realize people can expand the screen and clip them and then post them now they've been on this stream.
Oh, well,
interwebs, it lives forever. Yeah.
Let's face it, we weren't seeing David, we were just seeing you guys. You could have been seeing anything.
That's right.
No one knows. No one knows what that is.
Hey, look on the bright side. It wasn't John and Yoko doing it.
Yoko.
I love John to death, but you know what? There was her on a thing on YouTube the other day singing a song. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah.
You got away with it. Bless you.
So, anyway, guys, I think we'll head towards wrapping things up.
Right?
Yeah, we'll end on that high note. Thanks to Dustin for being here. He's dropped out, but thanks to him for being here. And thank you, Mark, for being here.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yep.
No, it's great to have
you guys. Thank you. Yeah, it's cool.
Willie, you've no idea how much I appreciate this, buddy.
Not a problem, chat. Loving it.
It's been such fun. Hope you've enjoyed it too.
Every time. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, well, we'll do it again. Don't head out the door just right now. We'll have a chat backstage. Chat. Everyone in the chat, you've been small but beautifully put together today. And I'm sure we'll pick up a lot of replay views. So thank you, everyone that's been here and chatting away like crazy. You're all great music lovers, and we love you for it. So Courtney, Pete, D-Bud, thanks for modding, D-Bud. Appreciate that very much, my friend. And Davina, you've got the range too. So Davina's been here. Thank you for that. I mentioned Pete. If I forget anybody, forgive me, but I don't have my glasses on.
Well, Courtney is saying how cool Willie is. She said,
Willie, you're the coolest and funniest guy that does the. It's such a pleasure hanging out with you, mate. I can't wait till I can get over to the UK when I can walk again with this stupid back thing, and we'll get together.
Oh yeah, well, you make sure you let me know when you do.
I will do, buddy. Yeah, it's going to happen.
As long as you can send me bail money.
Well, I can maybe take the police a bribe or something if that helps.
No, I meant for the pictures. I might be needing.
Well, the pictures. Well, David will be in touch through his 600 lawyers, and I don't think he cares that much. You know, it's if it was me,
he'd actually appreciate the picture, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the day, look what I'm doing in the middle of the day. All you guys are working.
That's it. What do you think you're doing? What are you thinking?
He was trying to work on a song in a sense, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah. If you look at the next album, slide it in with those album titles.
Well, there you go. He's working.
I mean, the song titles on that. We don't even read them. I mean, they went really over the top with the names there. Track 7. Slow and Easy. Spit It Out. I mean, come on. Confession as a Catholic kid.
That's right. He has to work. You have real life experiences need to be gained to work on albums. I'd like to thank Christian for being over in Rumble, and yeah, we'll get you on a show soon, Christian. You can join in for sure, no problem, buddy. Disney Sheepherder was here. FKCH 2005. Andy Morrow, the great Andy Morrow, was here. Great supporters of the channel, all of you. I really appreciate it. You've been here the whole time, and that's been a long time. Been a long, lonely time. So thanks for being here, guys. Sorry if I missed anybody. Greatest chat on YouTube. But we all say that, don't we? But you are.
That was a great chat, yeah.
Mark, you'll know what it's like. I marvel every day that there are people who watch all my shows.
Does people want to watch us? What's going on?
I know, and I'm so grateful for. I mean, like I thought it would just be me talking to myself, but you're always there for these shows, and I appreciate it. And this was a great show. You've all done very well. So have a great evening, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. with the Rock and Roll Rowdies for another blast of nonsense from those guys, and let's get Willie on there too, because that could be nuclear level chaos.
Let me know, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll get that planned for next week, buddy, if you're free. Yeah, so have a great Mark. You got anything you want to plug? Because go subscribe to Mark. He's nearly 1,000. Come on,
getting there. I'm close. Yep. But no, just appreciate being on here, and it's who would have thought I'm listening to this album as a kid in high school and get to talk to someone who was, working with the band and telling all these great stories. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes you gotta, say this is, great with this technology and YouTube.
I pinch myself.
Yeah. Like, can you give me some backstage passes back in the 80s? Though,
but I've probably got some up in the loft.
Yeah. I if I could go back in time to that Playhouse gig, I'd say, I'm a pal of Willie's.
Wally.
Oh, I had one last picture. Sorry, I forgot about this one.
Go for it.
This is in Scotland. This is the Willie Fyffe that we knew and loved.
Right. Yeah.
I belong to Glasgow.
Yeah, that's him.
That's Willie Fyffe, your namesake.
Aye, bless him.
Aye. Yep. So but
real quick, it's Thursday night Clubhouse on Clobbering Times channel, and Sunday night Geekery Sunday night. Thank you, Courtney, for putting that in. We got a show 10 p.m. Eastern, but you guys all know where to find me if you want to see toys. Normally we're talking toys and comics and food, but yeah, I do love music too. So it's always great to be on here and expand what I talk about on YouTube. So
well, you're one of the guys, Mark, who knows that what I'm talking about when I talk about 70s and 80s British rock stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
Aye.
yeah,
Because the rest of these bums I hang out with are all American.
The babbies.
No, they're just they're younger and they're more into the metal stuff, a lot of them. So I love them all dearly, but Mark knows what I'm talking about. So who else would have known Whitesnake albums from Britain? I mean, other than
do I look like a typical Whitesnake fan? I don't know. But,
No.
what is a typical Whitesnake fan?
what I look like, but just grew up. It was just grew up with that music, so it was it's kind of a
bad thing.
preppy kid, but didn't who gives a shit? Just listen to what you like, right? So it was funny.
Too right.
Pigeonhole you with stuff. Oh, you can't listen to that. You're not dressed the right way.
But on that bombshell, we're going to quit. Thanks again, Willie, brother. We'll talk to you just after the end credits. Thanks everyone for being out there. Have a great week. We'll see you all soon, and don't forget,
Thanks, guys.
keep on rocking.